And now, a Western adventure of old-time radio drama, premiering on July 8th, 1950, and running through September 14th, 1952. Movie star Joel McCrea stars as Texas Ranger Jace Pearson, who uses the latest scientific techniques to identify the criminals, and of course his faithful horse Charcoal to track them down. These shows were actual reenactments of Texas Ranger cases. The series was produced and directed by Stacy Keach Sr. and was sponsored for part of its run by Wheaties. Ladies and gentlemen, right here on HOJO Radio, Tales of the Texas Rangers. Next.
The National Broadcasting Company presents Joel McCrea in Tales of the Texas Rangers. Tonight, transcribed from Hollywood, another authentic reenactment of a case from the files of the Texas Rangers. Tales of the Texas Rangers, starring Joel McCrea as Ranger Jace Pearson. Texas, more than 260,000 square miles, and 50 men who make up the most famous and oldest law enforcement body in North America. Now, from the files of the Texas Rangers come these stories based on fact. Only names, dates, and places are fictitious for obvious reasons. The events themselves are a matter of record. Case for tonight, Deadhead Freight.
It is shortly before midnight, August 27th, 1938, at the Santa Fe Freight Yards in Lubbock, Texas. A deadhead freight hauling empties back to the West Coast from Galveston has just pulled into the yard. The brakeman and a railroad detective are making a routine check of the cars for free-riding hobos.
If I was a yard dick, I'd be snoozing in the roundhouse. You ain't found a free rider in months.
Yeah, so what? I get paid to check, and I check.
Oh, you know, bows on the freights always hop off before we pull into the yards.
I ever think one of them might fall asleep in the car and not have anybody to wake him up?
Well, could be.
Yeah, flash your light ignition.
Okay. Hey, see? Nobody. Now, the car up ahead is the last of the boxcars. I walked the flats and gondolas while we was rolling, so I know that they're clear.
Hey, why's the door rolled shut on this one?
Well, I don't know now. Shouldn't be.
Now, let's get her open. Now, throw your light around.
Yeah.
Nobody riding, huh? Come on. All right, Bo. On your feet. And throw that light right on him.
Yeah. Well, no wonder it didn't move. Just an old duffel bag.
Yeah. What's a duffel bag doing on a deadhead freight? Hey, there's something in it, huh? Hey, come here. Feel this.
Feels like a body.
Hey, you got a knife on you?
Yeah, here.
It's a good thing we didn't pass this car. The top of the bag sewed up tight. I'll have to cut right through the side.
What? It's a young woman.
Yeah, stabbed to death. And throw that light around the car.
Well, what are you looking for?
There's no blood anyplace. She wasn't killed on the train.
Somebody must have loaded the body on to get rid of it.
Yeah, so the murder can't be pinned down to any definite area. Hey, where'd you stop last, before you pulled in here?
Siding, west of Sweetwater?
The body must have been put on someplace between there and Galveston, then. We better call the police. They can notify the Texas Rangers.
After a brief but penetrating study of the situation, Ranger Captain Stinson had the body removed to a Lubbock funeral parlor. He then requested Texas Ranger Jace Pearson to take over the case.
Well, there it is, Jace. Pretty brutal job of stabbing.
You figure it happened a good piece from here, huh?
Couple of reasons for that. Here's a map. Shows the route the freight train took. Spot circled in red shows where it made stops. And at what time.
I see. No stops after it left the siding outside Sweetwater, huh?
Right. And most of the stops were made much further east.
Well, according to the time of these stops, Body must have been loaded on the train between Presby here and Turner City here.
Well, how do you arrive at that?
Train made all its night stops between these points. Isn't likely the killer loaded the body on by daylight. Too much chance of being spotted by the train crew.
Well, that's good reasoning, Jace. You may be right.
You said the body was sewed up in a duffel bag.
Yeah. You better look at it before I send it on to the lab. I had the undertaker lock it in this cabinet and give me the key. Yeah, here it is. Regular opening at the top of the bag is sewed up tight. The draw cord is missing. See?
Uh-huh. Good thing the man who found the body cut into the bag instead of ripping out those new stitches.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Kind of funny stitching.
It may have been made by somebody with a special trade where that kind of stitching's used. Lab gets a look at it, may be able to tell us what trade.
Well, I hope so. The bag itself won't help much, I'm afraid.
Probably picked up in war surplus. Could belong to anybody. Hey, look at this. The bottom of the bag.
It's kind of soiled. Whoever carted it around with a body in it must have set it on the ground to rest.
He sure did. On reddish-brown earth. Blood seepage made some of it stick. Let's have a look at that train map again. I think that earth stain kind of narrows down our search, Captain.
Oh? How come?
I know the country that train passed at night. I've been over it plenty. Only place I've seen earth that color is right around this area and a few stream beds. Cotton Belt runs parallel to the railroad for about 40 miles through there. Well, I've seen all I want to see, unless you have something else.
Nope. Let's go. I'll get this bag off to Austin.
Body going to be held here for identification?
Yeah. If she isn't identified, we'll see if we can run down something by her clothes.
Any laundry marks or anything on them?
Afraid not, Jace. Homemade and home laundered. No dental work to help us either. And her fingerprints aren't on the file.
Might have a man check on the shoes she was wearing. They weren't homemade.
Yeah, we'll try it. You got any ideas about what you're going to do?
If it's all right with you, I'd like to take a crack at that Cotton Belt area. Tow charcoal down on the horse trailer and then ride parallel to the railroad tracks and see what I can find.
Well, that's a lot of territory. How about Steve Clark riding with you?
Good deal.
We get anything from the lab, I'll let you know. I'll radio Clark and assign him. Then you can pick him up on the way. Good luck, Jace.
Thanks, Captain. You'll hear from me. I met Clark. We drove down to the beginning of the area I wanted to check, left the car, and used our horses for the long ride along the rail bed. By noon of the next day, we'd covered 15 miles.
Horses are getting tired, Jace.
I know, but there's a siding a little ways ahead. Freight stop there.
Yeah. Look, another culvert coming up.
Yeah. Bank's pretty steep. Watch your horse.
Right. Careful, boy.
Easy, Charcoal.
Careful.
Easy.
Steep climb out of here, Jace. Maybe if we ride... Hey, what are you looking at? Oh, the ground, huh?
Yeah. Same reddish-brown color we've been checking for.
Well, don't see anything else, though. Want to ride through it a ways?
Yeah. Come on, Charcoal.
Huh, boy, let's go. I don't want to be a killjoy, Jace, but we've done this in a dozen creek beds.
Yeah, but none of the others were as close to a train stop. Siding's only about 50 yards further up the... Ooh, Charcoal.
Oh, boy, whoa. Find something, Jace?
Yeah, come here.
What is it? Yeah, marks in the sand.
Trace of a couple of footprints, not enough to make a cast, but look at this other mark. A round impression.
Yeah. What made it?
Might have been somebody setting that duffel bag down.
Yeah? Well, that would account for the dirt you found on the bag.
We'll find out. Get a glass jar from your saddle pack.
Okay. Gonna cut a core around that mark?
Yeah. Lab can test it for blood trace. Earth this color, we can't tell anything by sight.
Well, here's the jar.
Thanks.
A few empty cans around here, Jace. Those marks might have been made by a hobo.
No, I don't think so. Bindle stiffs travel light. They don't carry duffel bags. And what's the nearest town to here?
Bullville, about a mile further on.
Well, let's get there. We can phone for a highway patrol car, and they can drive you back and pick up our car.
Right. You gonna check around Bullville?
With a fine-tooth comb. The cotton crop around Bullville was good. Too good. Migratory pickers were jamming the town. I had photos of the dead girl and tried to find somebody who might have seen her.
No, Ranger. Never saw her around the gin here. Town's full up, though. It's possible one of the pickers saw her someplace.
You know anybody who comes in contact with a lot of the pickers?
No. Afraid you have to tackle them crew by crew.
That's what I was trying to avoid.
Yeah. Must be a couple of thousand migratories around.
You mind if I ask your man at the weighing platform to check with the haulers when they bring cotton in for ginning?
No, it's all right with me.
Thanks.
Oh, Ranger, hold it a second. Just happened to think. There is somebody who gets to see a lot of the pickers.
Who?
A Mexican woman. Name's Old Rosie. Drives a junky old truck around peddling soda pop in the fields.
You know where I can locate her?
Yeah, haulers give you a lift out to the fields, and somebody will steer you out to her. Everybody knows Old Rosie.
Somebody killed that poor girl, huh?
That's right, Rosie. You ever see her?
You find who killed her, you're going to put him in a jail?
That's my job. How about it? You ever seen her around here?
See, one time.
Where?
At the bus station in the town. She was with a man.
You know who the man was?
No, senor.
And why'd you hesitate? Is that the truth?
Why should I tell a lie, senor? I don't know who the man was, but he looked like he was.
She described the man, a vague, stumbling description that might fit anybody. And while she described him, I had a feeling she was lying. A feeling that was strengthened by a faint odor of whiskey coming from the truck. Whatever business Rosie was in, it wasn't limited to the sale of soft drinks. I pretended to swallow her story, then I got a lift back to town where Steve Clark was waiting with our car.
Better hop in, Jace. Just had a call from Austin.
And they checked the earth sample sent in a jar?
Yeah, blood trace all right. Same type as the victims. They got a line on a few other things, too. The shoes on the dead girl have been traced through the manufacturer to a store in Sheffield. Yeah, I wrote down the name of the store and the address.
We better get over there and see if we can establish identity.
Yeah, shoes will be waiting at the Sheffield airport. Isn't likely that a shoe clerk is going to remember who he sold them to, though.
I saw the shoes. They've been repaired recently. Whoever fixed them might remember.
Well, that's a chance.
Any information on that duffel bag?
Yeah, lab ties it in with a semen.
How?
Well, stitches used to sew up the bag are the kind semen used to mend a torn sail. Chase, you look like that throws you.
It does, a little. I was beginning to have a sneaking suspicion about an old Mexican woman. But she's no seaman.
What made you suspect her?
She said she saw the dead girl with a man. She gave me kind of a phony description. Not only that, but she's supposed to be selling soft drinks to the field hands from an old truck. It reeked of liquor.
Oh, bootlegging, huh? Hey, that could mean something.
What?
Well, a report from Austin mentioned liquor stains on that duffel bag. Naturally, they just figured that a bottle had been broken in the bag at one time or another, but...
Yeah, but it could be something else, too.
Yeah?
That bag might have been used for hauling moonshine. Stop the car.
Hey, Jace, what's the matter?
Slide out. I'm going to Sheffield alone. You stay here.
Okay, Jace. What do you want me to work on?
Tail old Rosie, the Mexican woman, while I'm gone. Check on any special contacts she makes. Whoever she sees, find out who they are. See if you can run down any who've worked as seamen. I burned up the road to Sheffield. The clerk who'd sold the shoes couldn't help, but I got the information I was after in a repair shop.
Sure, I fix it is, all right? Look, here's where I sewed the broken strap, you see? I remember because of something else, they thought I never get paid for the job.
Whose shoes are they?
Mrs. Watson. She's living 2 blocks up at Brownwood House.
Mrs. Watson, huh? Is her husband around?
Oh, no. He's a go away a month ago. That's why she got no money for pay for the shoes. I known you bother her. She lived with her mother and her little baby's a 1-year-old.
Any idea where her husband went?
Oh, no. Sometimes she says he go away for work or someplace with the cotton, sometimes to Galveston to work for the boats.
Oh, he's been a sailor, huh?
Sailor, everything. Whatever he is, he's no send the money. Last week she come in. She says she's going to meet him and she's going to pay me when she's come back. But she's not come back. Hey, just a minute. Why you asking me all these things, eh? And how come you got the shoes?
Because Mrs. Watson doesn't need him anymore. She's dead.
You are listening to Tales of the Texas Rangers, starring Joel McCrea as Ranger Jace Pearson. We continue now with tonight's case, Deadhead Freight, an authentic story from the files of the Texas Rangers.
It wasn't the kind of news you enjoy breaking to a dead girl's mother, and the girl's baby crying in the next room didn't help it any.
See, they'd split up about a month ago. And then last week, her husband wrote to her from Bowlville. He said he was sorry and he wanted my daughter Helen to come to me. I thought she was there with him.
Looks like she was for a while.
Oh, he promised Helen everything in the letter. Said he had a lot of money for her and their baby. He was never any good. And now the baby's left to me and I'm just too old.
I'm sorry, ma'am. Can you give me your son-in-law's full name and his description?
Herbert Watson is his name. They call him Bud.
Herbert Bud Watson. About how tall would you say he was? Yeah, you better pull yourself together, ma'am. Somebody's at the door.
I'll call out the window and send him away. I don't want to see anybody now. Oh.
What is it, ma'am? What's the matter?
Oh, somebody! Open the door!
It's him. My son-in-law, Bud.
All right, ma'am. Open the door and let him in. Go ahead.
Well, what took you so long? Where's Helen?
You know where she is. What did you do to her? What did you do to my girl?
Are you crazy? What's the matter?
Let him go, ma'am, and stand back.
What? Ranger, what?
Get your hands up and turn around.
You killed her. And you got the gall to come here with your own baby crying.
Ranger, what is this? Kill who? Helen. Where's Helen? Where is she?
Don't you know, Watson? Or did you think she'd never be identified?
Helen's been murdered? Oh, no. No.
You did it. You did it.
No, Mom, no. I gave her money. Told her to come back home and I'd meet her here today. We was going to take the kid and make a fresh start.
How much money did you give your wife?
$1,000.
That's a lot. Where'd you get it? Come on.
I was bootlegging to the pickers.
How long you been getting away with that?
Started it last season.
Did old Rosie sell any of this stuff for you?
How did you know about that?
I didn't for sure until now. Come on. We're going back to your place of business in Bowlville.
Hi, Jace.
Steve?
Yeah, I got your message to meet you here. Rosie's over there. Want to get her off the truck?
Yeah, she can talk from there. Come on. You too, Watson.
Okay.
Bud Watson, murdered girl's husband. Been bootlegging here. Rosie's been moving some of the stuff for him.
Oh?
Why you keep me from my work, senor?
Your work isn't as legal as it could be, Rosie, so sit tight. Yeah, you ever seen this man before?
You know she's seen me before.
They didn't ask you. How about it, Rosie?
Si.
All right, Rosie. Now, is he the same man you saw at the bus depot with the girl whose picture I showed you?
Si. He's the man.
At the bus depot? But that ain't so. I was never with Helen at the bus depot.
You didn't meet her when she came down here?
No, I tell you. I didn't know what bus she was coming in on. Or even if she would come after she got my letter. First I saw her, she turned up here at the shack.
Well, how about when she left to go home?
She only stayed 2-3 hours all told. Let her go back to the bus depot alone because, well, it was getting dark. Near time for the pickers to be coming there to buy drinks.
You hear that, Rosie? That means one of you is lying.
Rosie, tell the truth, senor.
You don't always tell the truth, Rosie. The first time I asked you about the man you saw, you said he was a stranger, a man you'd never seen before.
I forget, senor. I see a lot of people every day in the fields.
You trying to kid me? You've been selling liquor for this man. You couldn't mistake him for a stranger.
But I do, senor. I make mistake. You wanted help, I give you help. Rosie tell you all she knows, that's all.
Now it was obvious that Rosie was lying, just as I'd suspected her of lying the first time. There had to be a reason for it. We took Bud Watson into Bowlville jail and then went back to search his shack.
I can't figure something, Jace. Why won't Watson admit it if he was at the bus station with his wife? That wouldn't hurt him.
No, it wouldn't. That's why I think he's telling the truth.
Then Rosie must be covering up for something.
Covering up for somebody's a better guess.
She might have done it herself.
No, I don't think so. She's too old to cart a body across the country to the railroad.
Well, then you figure she really did see Mrs. Watson at the bus depot with a man, huh?
Yeah. The man who killed her to get the $1,000 Bud Watson had given her.
Well, then what's Rosie's angle in lying to us?
Oh, that's an easy one, Steve. Shakedown.
Hey, Jace, you're right. Couldn't be anything else. Why, it'd be worth the cut for her to forget seeing the man and say it was Watson instead. Only one thing wrong with it.
What?
Well, I watched her while you were gone. She didn't make any suspicious contacts, nothing that could have been a payoff.
She might have gotten her payoff right after I showed her the Watson girl's picture and told her she'd been murdered. That was before you started to tail her.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. She had time. Well, we combed this shack, Jace. Nothing here. What do we do now?
Go back to tailing Rosie again? If she squeezed hush money out of the man once, she's liable to try it again. They all do. We'll start by watching her house when she comes in from the fields tonight. We staked out near Rosie's adobe hut, but it got dark and she didn't come in from the fields. I left Steve on watch and went out to look for her, keeping an eye out for her old truck. I found it about 5 miles out, surrounded by a group of men carrying torches. Hey, what's going on here?
Ranger! Rosie! You better come!
Yeah, what happened?
We was walking into town. We saw the truck here by the side of the road, thought maybe it broke down, so we started to call for old Rosie. Then one of the boys spotted the blood on the ground.
What blood?
I'll show you over here. Must be old Rosie's, I reckon, because we found her over here in the cotton row. She's dead, Ranger. Somebody cut her throat from ear to ear.
Old Rosie had tried to shake down a killer once too often, with the usual payoff. I sent a rush call to Steve Clark to tow his horse out and join me. We followed a trail which led to a deserted picker shack way off in a field that looked like it hadn't been cultivated for years. The shack had been occupied, though, recently occupied. But whoever had been there was gone. There's a lamp there, Steve. Light it.
Yeah. It's clean as a whistle, Jay.
Yeah, it's too clean. That floor's been scrubbed mighty hard for a shack like this.
It sure has. Especially for a place nobody's living in. Must have been cleaning up blood.
Yeah. And there are 2 other things.
What's that?
Whoever was hiding here was mighty handy with a knife. Look at the inside of the door. Circle drawn on the wood. Wood chipped where somebody practiced throwing a knife at it.
Yeah, good aim. All the marks are right smack inside the circle. Now, what else?
Take a look at the lamp you just lit. The cord it's hanging by.
It's just an ordinary hunk of rope.
Except for the knot holding the lamp, a running bowline. So the light could be raised or lowered toward the table.
A running bowline is a seaman's knot.
Yeah, and that cord is just about big enough to be the draw cord from a duffel bag. Our seaman was here, all right.
Well, it couldn't have been Watson, Jace. He was safe in jail when Rosie was killed.
Yeah. Whoever Rosie saw with Mrs. Watson at the bus depot must have met the girl after she left Watson, after she had the money.
Yeah?
Married woman on her way home to her baby isn't liable to leave a bus depot with a stranger, is she? Chances are it was somebody she knew.
Well, Watson's been a sailor. Think it might have been an old shipmate of his?
Let's go see if he remembers one who was handy with a knife.
You say somebody killed old Rosie?
Yeah. The same man who killed your wife. Now think and think hard.
Yeah?
The killer was a seaman. We got reason to think it could be an old shipmate of yours who knew your wife.
Oh, but Helen knew shipmates of mine all along the Gulf. I introduced her to lots of them.
The one we want had a habit of throwing a knife.
Hey, he drew targets on a door. Never missed.
Matt Corbett. It was Matt Corbett!
How do you know? Any reason for him to be around here?
Yeah. He was my partner last year. Bootlegging here. Business got bad and he left. I wrote to him months ago asking him to come back for this picking, but he never answered me.
Did Rosie know him?
Sure she did. From last year.
That's it, Clark. Rosie'd seen Corbett with Mrs. Watson. That's why he couldn't run with the money after he'd killed her. He had to wait to see if the body was found and identified.
And when we moved in and she knew about the murder, she really had him pinned down.
And he used to be my best friend. A sneaking...
Never mind that now. Where would he run to?
I don't know. He was always roaming, like me.
Hey, you wrote to him someplace, you said. You must have an address.
Yeah. Yeah, it was general delivery at Port O'Connor. There's an old bait shack there. He lived in it whenever he had enough money to stop moving for a while.
He's got enough now. What he got from your wife. Come on, Clark. Let's get him. We headed for Port O'Connor, made it by morning, and found the abandoned bait shack.
Nobody inside, Jace, can see through the window. He isn't here.
And he's probably traveling by freight to avoid being spotted. He couldn't have beaten us here. We rolled too fast.
Gonna stake it out and wait?
Yeah, our car's out of sight where we left it. He won't spot it coming along the wharf. Come on, let's go inside.
Yeah, looked like Matt Corbett's the man we're after, all right. Same trademarks here we found in that picker shack at Bullville.
Yeah. Knife marks in a circle on the door. Same running bowline holding the lamp. Draw that burlap sack across the window.
That'll make it pretty dark in here, Jace.
You want it dark when you're throwing a surprise party. Hey, Steve, wake up.
What?
Shh. Somebody coming along the wharf.
It's dark. What time is it?
A little after midnight.
Steps are coming closer.
Yeah, it must be Corbett. Nothing to bring anybody else this way at this time of night.
He's heading for here, all right.
Yeah. Let him get all the way inside. And remember, he's got that knife, and he's handy with it.
I know.
All right, Corbett. Never mind that lamp.
What's the knife, Dave?
Stand clear of the light, Steve.
Can you handle him?
Or stop your struggling, Corbett.
You stinking... My arm. You broke my arm.
All right, just wrench your shoulder, Corbett.
Keep you from throwing that knife for a while. Come on, get up. Better light the lamp now, Steve.
It's a good thing you jumped him, Jace. I felt that knife pass in my ear. Look, buried in that wall a good inch.
Hey? Rangers? I thought you were a couple of crooks. What you doing here?
Just dropped in to arrest you for the murder of Helen Watson and old Rosie up at Bullville.
It'd be nice if you could prove it. I haven't been near Bullville.
I think we can prove you were. By marks you left on the door and a few other things. How'd you come back, freight?
Are you kidding?
No, I'm serious. You should have rode Pullman. Get your shoes shined on a Pullman. Would have taken that reddish-brown earth off your shoes. Our lab can match that with Bullville.
Watch out for that shoulder.
Yeah, that's better, Corbett. Want to cuff him, Jace?
No, I think you'll come quiet. All right, Corbett. Let's move.
Herbert Bud Watson served the required term for his bootlegging activities, and Matt Corbett was tried and convicted of murder. The sentence of the court was carried out on February 20th, 1939, when at Huntsville Penitentiary, Matt Corbett died in the electric chair.
And now, here again is the star of our show, Joel McCrea, with another interesting story about the Texas Rangers.
In the early days of Texas, major disturbances were not infrequent. It was a lusty, brawling, growing territory, and as happens in such a territory, there were days when the streets were not safe for the good citizens. An Easterner, happening into a Texas town at such a time, found shelter in the house of a minister. Everything will be all right soon, he was assured. Later that same afternoon, the minister, who'd been looking out the window, said, "Well, friend, the streets are safe now. You may go about your business." The Easterner looked out the window, but all he saw was a lone figure riding casually down the main street on a horse. "What makes you think it's safe for me out there now?" he asked in bewilderment. The minister pointed to the horseman. "Because that feller on the horse is a Texas Ranger," he said. "Only folks that aren't safe in this town now are the ones who started the trouble. And when he finds them, they'll wish they'd been peaceable." Good night, folks. See you next week.
Next week, Joel McCrea in another authentic reenactment of a case from the files of the Texas Rangers. Joel McCrea is currently seen starring in the MGM production Stars in My Crown. Tonight's cast included Tony Barrett, Herb Ellis, Tom Holland, Byron Kane, Tom McKee, and Lillian Bayer. This story was transcribed and adapted by Joel Murcott, and the program was produced and directed by Stacy Keats. Hal Gibney speaking.
You're listening to HOJO Radio, More classic old-time radio coming your way next.
The National Broadcasting Company presents Joel McCrea in Tales of the Texas Rangers. Tonight, transcribed from Hollywood, another authentic reenactment of a case from the files of the Texas Rangers. Tales of the Texas Rangers, starring Joel McCrea as Ranger Jace Pearson. Texas, more than 260,000 square miles, and 50 men who make up the most famous and oldest law enforcement body in North America. Now, from the files of the Texas Rangers come these stories based on fact. Only names, dates, and places are fictitious for obvious reasons. The events themselves are a matter of record. Case for tonight, death in the cards.
It is 11:30 p.m. on the night of January 26, 1947, at the ranch house of Chester Gentry in Reeves County, Texas. Chester is on the telephone as his stepson, Will, enters.
No sign of him, huh? All right. Call me when you find him. Thanks, Sheriff. Where you been, Will?
Just out having a beer. That Sheriff Bennett you were talking to?
Yeah. Your friend Tovich telephoned you a while ago.
Tovich? Oh, you didn't tell the sheriff about Tovich.
I sure did. Sheriff just called to say he located Tovich's rooming house over in Biggerstown, but Tovich wasn't there.
But I've told you 100 times it's the worst thing in the world you could do. Tovich finds out he'd kill me.
Will,
Maybe he has found out you told the sheriff. Maybe he's on his way here right now to get me. Look, you got to give me the money to pay him off now.
No, Will. No more money.
Do you know what you're saying? He'll kill me if I don't pay him. He told me so.
Now, you listen to me, Will. I've reached the end of my rope in this whole rotten mess. I'm through. You're not going to get another dime from me. I've done everything I can for you, but you're just no good.
Please, Dad, I need that dough now.
You shut up and listen to me. When your ma died, I promised her I'd do everything I could for you. And I have. I treated you like you was my own son. I've given you a home. I've given you money, a lot of money. And what have you done with it? You've thrown it away to a slimy gambler named Tovich.
But, Dad...
For 2 months it's been going on. For 2 months you've been bleeding me white to pay off that gambler. I told you to stay away from him, but you didn't. Now it's high time for me to meet him and tell him face to face to stay away from you.
No, Dad, no. If you just give me the money this once more, I'll straighten out. I promise you.
Your promises ain't worth a bale of straw. That's what you said last week. You'd straighten out. I told you then I'd give you just 1 week to do it, and if you didn't, you'd get no more money from me now or ever.
Dad, you don't mean...
Oh, don't I? You got yourself into this mess. You get yourself out of it. Tovich can bluff you, but he can't bluff me.
Dad.
Huh? What's the matter?
Window. Tovich, I just saw him at the window.
What?
Now he's gone. He's probably heading for the front door.
All right, let him. Turn off the lights, Will.
But, Dad...
Turn them off.
What are you doing?
Getting my gun. I'll give this Tovich a reception he ain't looking for.
No, Dad, no.
Front door, huh?
No, look, stay away from that door, Dad. Don't open it. Please don't.
Can't see a thing. Now, look, Will, you...
Will.
Chester Gentry lay dead at his own front door. Will immediately notified Sheriff Bennett's office. Sheriff requested help from the Texas Rangers. Ranger Jace Pearson was assigned to the case. He joined Sheriff Bennett at the Gentry Ranch.
Well, looks like an open and shut case, Jace. Tovich came here to get Will, but it was Chester who opened the door and collected the slugs instead.
Where was the body, Sheriff?
Lying right across front doorway here.
How long ago did the shooting take place?
A couple hours ago. Chester notified me earlier in the evening he'd gotten a call from this Tovich. The call came from Biggerstown, so I went over there to see if I could find him. I located his rooming house, but he'd checked out. Looks like while I was there, he was here.
You say Tovich had been bleeding Will and Chester for some time, huh?
Yeah, about 2 months, according to what Chester told me on the phone.
Well, let's talk to Will.
Oh, Sheriff, come on in.
This is Ranger Pearson, Will. He'd like to ask you a couple of questions.
Well, sure, Ranger.
How long have you known this Tovich, Will?
A couple of months, I guess.
And where'd you first meet him?
Pete's place, down the highway.
That's a roadhouse, Jace.
That where you did your gambling?
No. Tovich would call me from time to time, tell me I had a game lined up. So I'd meet him at his rooming house in Biggerstown.
Who else was in the games?
A couple other fellas, different ones each time. I didn't know any of them. Didn't even know their names.
You kept losing to Tovich, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
But you kept on playing cards with him.
Well, I kept thinking my luck would change.
Your luck never changes when you're up against a professional gambler.
Guess I know that now.
It's too bad you didn't know it 2 months ago. Your stepfather might still be alive.
Ranger, there just isn't a thing you can say to me that I haven't already said to myself. I've been sitting here for 2 hours thinking about it. Knowing if I had the guts to straighten out, this wouldn't happen. There's only one thing I hope right now. I hope somehow Dad knows how I feel.
All right, Will. What does Tovich look like?
Well, pretty ordinary-looking fellow. Kind you never notice in a crowd. About my height, I'd say. Black hair, regular features, nothing to really set him apart.
That's pretty general.
I guess it is, but it's the best I can do.
Okay, better get some sleep. You find any tracks outside, Sheriff?
Nope, my deputies scoured the yard, but it's too gravelly to hold any kind of tracks, car or foot.
Will, do you remember hearing a car pull away from here after the shooting?
Why, no, Ranger. Now, come think of it, I didn't even hear one come up.
Okay. When it gets light, we'll ride around a little in the back of the ranch, Sheriff, and see if we can pick up any footprints.
Right.
In the meantime, let's take a run over to Biggerstown and talk to Tovich's landlady. Maybe she can give us a better line on him.
Afraid I can't help you much on a description, Ranger. I only got a good look at Tovich once. That was when I rented this room to him 2 months ago.
It's pretty strange that'd be the only time you saw him, Mrs. Packer.
Well, he came and went by night. I'd hear voices in his room sometimes in the evening. A couple of times a woman's voice. But as far as seeing him around, I didn't.
You said he checked out earlier tonight. Didn't you see him then?
No. He just left an envelope under my door with his key and the money he owed on the room.
You think you'd recognize him if you saw him again, Mrs. Packer?
Well, I might. I don't know. But to sit down and describe him to you, I'm afraid I can't be much help there.
I don't like it, Sheriff. Man's been living in this room for 2 months. Take a look around you. It's clean, too clean. Nothing here to give us any line on. Hey, wait a minute. Have you cleaned this room since Tovich checked out?
No. I ain't gotten around to it yet. I was figuring on giving it a good swamping out in the morning.
I'd like to save you the trouble.
What do you mean?
I'd like to have one of our men from the lab vacuum the room for you.
Well, it's my back the way it is. I sure ain't gonna say no.
You figure on having the contents of the dust bag analyzed, Jace?
Yeah. Tovich has covered his tracks pretty well so far, but maybe he doesn't know you can sometimes pick up a lot besides dust with a vacuum cleaner. Mrs. Packer, if you should ever see Tovich again, I'd like you to get in touch with me right away.
Well, you can count on that, Ranger. Say, I don't hanker to have any killers running loose around my rooming house.
Dawn came, and the only thing new on the case was the publicity. The papers were carrying the story with pictures of Chester and Will. The sheriff and I started scouring the country in back of the Gentry Ranch on horseback.
This is hunting weather, Jace, with all that frost on the ground.
Yeah, so far the hunting hasn't been good. Let's see, we're right in line with the back of the ranch house now.
Yeah, maybe we better split up and go around.
Hey, hold it. Take a look on the ground there.
Yeah, foot tracks. Coming from the back of the ranch house, too.
And judging from the distance between the tracks, he was in a hurry. Come on.
Heading straight north for the river, Jace. He could be trying for the New Mexico border.
Could be.
You know, one thing, should be pretty easy to follow the tracks in the frost.
Yeah. There's something funny about these tracks, though.
What do you mean?
I don't know yet. Can't just put my finger on it, but we'll keep trailing. See if we can put our finger on Tovich. Come on, Charcoal.
Yeah. don't understand why you don't want to cross the river, Jace. Tracks led smack into it back there.
I know it, Sheriff, but let's just keep looking along the bank on this side.
Okay, but he probably waded along a spell, then kept going on the other side.
What's on the other side?
Santa Fe track, about 15 mile away.
And what's between the river and the tracks?
Just open country.
That's what I mean. I don't think Tovich would risk 15 miles of open country.
Yeah, I see your point. Yeah, we'll keep looking along this side, then.
We don't have to look any farther, Sheriff. Look, there they are. Ooh, Charky.
Hey, they sure are. Tracks coming up out of the river and heading back the way we came. But there's still one thing I don't understand.
What's that?
The shooting took place about 11:30 last night. Tovich could have been halfway across that open country on the other side of the river by dawn. Now, why'd he double back?
I think I've got an answer for that, Sheriff. I told you a while back something was bothering me about those tracks. I finally figured out what it is.
Oh?
Look at the tracks, and then look at the hoof marks of our horses.
Well, they look just about the same to me. Hey, they both cut down through the frost.
Yeah, that's the point. What time you figure the frost formed on the ground this morning?
Between 4 and 5, maybe.
And those tracks were made after the frost formed. They cut through it. If they'd been made before the frost, it would have formed over them.
Wait a minute. Maybe Tovich realized he killed the wrong man. Maybe he hid around the ranch trying for another crack at Will.
And now those tracks are heading toward the ranch again. Come on, Sheriff. We better get back there in a hurry. We followed the tracks back to the highway a mile below the ranch and lost them there. Then we headed for the ranch house. There was no sign of life around the place.
I don't see Will outside anywhere.
His car's in the driveway.
I hope we're not too late. Will!
Oh, morning, Sheriff, Ranger.
Yeah, that's a relief.
Oh, come on in. Well, something the matter?
We thought there might be. Can I use your phone? I want to call my office and see if there's anything new.
Hey, sir. Back in the hall.
Okay, thanks.
Ranger, what's the sheriff mean about being relieved to see me?
Will, it's possible Tovich hung around here, the ranch, last night after the shooting.
What?
You see or hear anything after we left?
It wasn't my imagination.
What do you mean?
Well, after you fellas left, I locked up tight. About 3 or 4 this morning, a sound woke me up.
What kind of a sound?
Well, like somebody walking around outside. You think could have been Tovich?
I don't know.
Well, I've got Dad's gun. If Tovich ever shows up around here again, I'll handle him.
Law enforcing's our business, Will. Don't try and take it into your own hands.
Jace.
Yes, Sheriff. Now, what is it?
My deputy just told me that landlady, Miss Packer, phoned the office for you about an hour ago.
Mrs. Packer?
Yeah, they told her to call out here.
Will?
Yeah.
Did a Mrs. Packer phone me?
Oh, woman phone. Didn't leave a name, but she did leave a number. I got it written down right here.
Thanks. Operator? 2734J. How long ago did she call, Will?
Oh, about an hour ago, I guess.
She leave any message?
No. Just said to ask you to call her.
You told her to get in touch with you if she ever saw Tovich again, Jace.
Yeah, I know. No answer. Come on, Sheriff. We better get over to Biggerstown and find out what's on Mrs. Packer's mind. She must have gone out.
Her door's unlocked.
Mrs. Packer? Mrs. Packer?
Look, Jace. On the table there by the phone.
Newspaper. Folded to the story of the killing.
Well, she can't have gone very far. Coffee's boiling on the hot plate.
Pot's just about boiled dry. Come on, let's take a look in the next room.
You know, it's funny. She'd call and then Jace. On the bed.
Yeah. Mrs. Packer. Strangled.
You are listening to Tales of the Texas Rangers, starring Joel McCrea as Ranger Jace Pearson. We continue now with tonight's case, Death in the Cards, an authentic story from the files of the Texas Rangers.
We were getting nowhere fast on this case. First Chester Gentry, then Mrs. Packer. We questioned all the rumors, but none of them had seen a thing. Then we went back to the sheriff's office.
Jace, there's no doubt about it at all. Miss Packer was trying to tell you something about Tovich, but he got to her first and killed her to shut her mouth.
Yeah, we know who the killer is, all right, but the big question is, where is he?
It's just like the earth opened and swallowed him up.
Well, every sheriff's office in the state's been alerted. Highway patrol's on the lookout, too, so sooner or later we're bound to...
Yeah. Excuse me, Jace. Sheriff Bennett speaking. Oh, yeah, just a minute. Your headquarters, Jace. Captain Stinson.
Thanks. Hello, Captain.
Just got a report from the lab on those vacuum sweepings you had them take from Tovich's room in Biggerstown, Jace.
What'd they find?
Only items of interest were 2 or 3 women's hairs. Red.
A lot of redheads in Texas, Captain. I'm afraid that's not much help.
Maybe more than you think. This hair wasn't naturally red. It was a henna dye job. And judging from the distance between the roots and the dye, the lab figures it was dyed about a week ago.
Well, now that's a horse of a different color. Well, thanks a lot, Captain. I'll keep you posted. Sheriff, we haven't had any luck finding Tovich, have we?
We sure haven't.
Okay, now we're going to start looking for Tovich's girl.
His girl?
How many beauty parlors do you figure there are in Biggerstown?
I don't know, 6 or 7, maybe.
Before the day's over, we'll know exactly how many there are. We're going to visit them all. The sheriff had underestimated the town. There were 10 of them. We had no luck on the first 7, and then just at dark, we hit number 8. There we found an operator who remembered giving a henna dye job to a girl named Thelma Parrish about a week ago. We learned that Thelma was a waitress in a coffee shop, so I parked my car around the corner and we dropped in on her.
Well, you men look like you could use a nice cup of coffee.
Nothing I'd like better right now than having a pretty red-headed waitress pour me one, ma'am.
Why, thank you, Ranger. Coming up.
What do you think, Jace?
I think maybe.
Cream?
Black, please.
Yeah, black here, too.
Well, here you are.
Thanks. You seen your boyfriend lately?
Boyfriend?
Tovich.
Who?
Tovich.
You must have me mixed up with somebody else, Ranger. I don't know anybody by that name.
Are you real sure about that, ma'am?
Well, of course I am. A girl's sure who she does know and who she doesn't.
Well, either I'm mistaken or you're lying to me.
Look, I don't know what this is all about, but I do know better than lie to a ranger.
I hope so. Well, come on, Sheriff. You better be getting back to your office.
Okay, Jace.
Here's for the coffee.
Thanks. Sorry I can't help you any about what's his name.
So am I. This way, Sheriff.
Where are we going?
Across the street.
Yeah, but the car's on this side, around the corner.
Keep walking. She's watching us from inside.
Oh. Think she was lying?
That's what I want to find out.
She seemed pretty sure of herself.
Okay, we're out of her line of sight now. Let's get in this doorway, quick. Good. Yeah, we're in the shadows here. She can't spot us from across the street. Now we'll just keep an eye on the front of that coffee shop
Chase,
and...
Look, she's coming outside.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. False alarm. She's just washing the windows.
Yeah? Well, that's the fastest wash job I've ever seen. She's heading inside again. She came out to make sure we'd gone. Come on. We'll work our way along the sidewalk until we can see across the street into the coffee shop.
Yeah, but she may spot us.
Hey, hold it.
She's on the phone with her back to us.
She was lying, all right. Probably calling Tovich right now. Sheriff, how about slipping into the drugstore and tracing that call?
Mm-hmm.
I can keep an eye on the front of the shop from my car. I'll meet you there. The sheriff disappeared into the drugstore. I waited in my car. couple of minutes later, he came over and got in wearing a very puzzled look.
Must be some mistake, Jace.
What do you mean?
That waitress, she just telephoned the Gentry Ranch.
I don't think there is any mistake, Sheriff. And right now, it doesn't surprise me much.
Yeah, but as far as we know, the only one at the Gentry Ranch is Will.
Yeah, but Will's going to have company as soon as we can make it there.
Wait a minute. You trying to say that Will Gentry...
Sheriff, it looks like there is no Tovich and never has been. I guess the boy we've been up against right from the start is Will Gentry. I radioed KTXA to set up a roadblock on the highway 10 miles each way from the Gentry Ranch in case Will should take off before we could get there. And I jammed the gas pedal to the floor and held it there.
We'll relay information.
Jace, you're leaving me way behind. Will Gentry.
Looks like I was way behind for a while, too. But looking back on it, it all falls into place. We know Will was always after money from his stepfather, Chester.
And he invented the story about a gambler named Tovich as an excuse to get that money?
He even went so far as to rent a room in Biggerstown under that name. But when Chester cracked down and threatened to disinherit him, Will used the same Tovich device to kill Chester. That way, he'd get all Chester's money.
So when Chester opened the front door thinking Tovich was outside, there wasn't anybody there at all. And it was Will who plugged me.
KTXA to Unit 10.
Unit 10. Go ahead, KTXA.
Unit 320, station at Tucker's Junction. Unit 256, station at Biggerstown, turn off.
Unit 10, 10-4.
KTXA, clear.
Well, we got the roadblock set up. Tucker's Junction's about 5 miles the other side of the Gentry Ranch, isn't it?
Yep. And with another highway patrol car back of us at the Biggerstown turnoff, looks like we got Will bottled up tight if he makes a run for it. There's no side roads off the highway for 6 or 7 miles along here.
Good. As soon as we get the top of this rise, we ought to be able to spot the Gentry Ranch.
Yeah, ranch house only a mile or so from here, Jace. It was Will who made those tracks in the frost then, huh?
He heard me say we'd start trailing in the morning. I guess he figured on giving us something to trail.
Yeah, and that explains Miss Packer's murder, too. She must have seen Will's picture in the paper, recognized him as Tovich, so she tried to phone you.
And when she called the ranch house, Will knew he had to shut her mouth for keeps. He probably got back from killing her just before we showed up at the ranch house after the trailing.
There's the ranch house, only half mile more.
Now, wait. The taillight's swinging out onto the highway.
He's making a run for it.
What kind of cars he drive? Gray sedan, isn't it?
Yep.
Unit 10 to all units in roadblock. Subject Will Gentry attempting getaway. Proceeding east on Highway 19 in gray sedan. Unit 10 pursuing.
Unit 203 to Unit 10.
Unit 10. Go ahead, Unit 203.
Unit 203 on Highway 19, 3 miles west of Tucker's Junction.
That's only a couple of miles east of us, Jace.
Proceed west on Highway 19, Unit 203.
Unit 203, 10-4.
Unit 10, clear.
Yeah, we got him bottled up for sure, Jace. We're backstopped at both ends, and we're coming at him from both ends. It's a squeeze play.
I sure hope so. Unit 10 to Unit 203.
Unit 203, go ahead, Unit 10.
Have you sighted Gentry's car yet?
Not yet, Unit 10. We'll report contact.
Unit 10, clear. I don't get it, Sheriff. We should have spotted Gentry by this time. We're almost together.
Hey, watch it, Jace. Sharp bend in the road just ahead. Just past this drive-in movie here.
Yeah, I see it.
Only way Gentry could get off the highway is to ditch his car, and I don't think he'd do that.
Hey, a red light coming at us. That must be Unit 203.
He's stopping, too. But where's Will?
No sign of Gentry?
None, Jay.
No, but there aren't any side roads at all. He couldn't have vanished into thin air.
Hey, wait a minute. That drive-in movie we just passed.
You think he turned in?
It's the only place he could have turned in. Come on. We went back to the drive-in theater, stationed the highway patrol car at the exit, then the sheriff and I talked to the theater manager. He remembered a gray sedan pulling in there a few minutes before. He'd sent it to the rear aisle, so the three of us circled around the theater on the outside of the fence and then came in through a small gate in the rear. But Gentry's car wasn't in the back row.
But he's got to be in this back row, Ranger. That's where I sent him.
Look, there's a vacant spot in the row. And one in the next row ahead. He could have wormed his way forward a few rows.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of people do that trying to get a better spot.
About 200 cars in here. It's going to be like looking for a needle.
Hey, hold it. 3 aisles up, near the side.
Yeah, that's his car, all right. Gonna take him now, Jace?
I can't. There's too many cars around him. It's a cinch he won't come peacefully. Somebody might get shot.
If we could only get the car on each side of him to get clear.
I could make an announcement on the public address.
No, that's no good. He'd probably start shooting. I can't warn the car on each side. Will would spot me. Same goes for you, Sheriff.
Want me to do it?
You? Oh, I don't know. It'd be pretty... Hey, wait a minute. Yeah, I think I got it. You go up to the car on this side of Will. Tell him to clear out in exactly 1 minute. Then go to Will's car. Tell him you're checking the reception on those speakers they hang on the side of their cars. And then go to the car the other side of him. Tell them to clear out in 2 minutes.
Good idea. That way, maybe Will won't get suspicious.
30 seconds after the second car leaves, turn on all the lights.
Okay. I'll give it a whirl. See you after it's all over, I hope.
We watched the manager go along the line of cars. He worked his way to Will's car, then passed it to the one beyond. Then he headed for the projection booth. So far, so good. Seconds ticked by. At the end of the first minute, the car this side of Will pulled out. Another minute went by, and the car the other side of Will got going.
He's out in the open now, Jace.
Yeah. 20 seconds till the lights go on. Come on.
John, you came to the hospital.
And we get just a little closer. I'll take him from this side.
Hey, Jace. He's starting up. He must have got suspicious.
He won't get far.
You hit a tire. Will, come out of that car with your hands in the air.
There go the lights, Tom.
It's coming out all right, Ranger.
Look out, Jace!
Come on, Sheriff.
You okay, Jace?
Yeah.
Hey, you sure knocked him down, Pronto.
Hit him in the shoulder.
Why didn't you finish me off?
That's up to the state of Texas, Will, not me. But I think they'll oblige you, all right.
Will Gentry was tried and convicted of the murders of Chester Gentry and Leona Packer. On the morning of April 12th, 1948, he was executed in the electric chair at Huntsville Penitentiary.
And here again is the star of our show, Joel McCrea, with another interesting story about the Texas Rangers.
Although the Texas Rangers is a highly organized law enforcement agency, the men themselves are rugged individualists. One ranger in particular that I know of carries his 6-shooters with only 5 shells in each gun. One day he was asked why he did this. If the hammer's resting on an empty chamber, he said, the gun can't be fired accidentally. But, said his interested friend, with only 5 bullets instead of 6 in the gun, aren't you endangering your own position? Maybe so, he said with a grin, but if you can't hit your target with 5 shells, the 6th one won't do you much good anyhow. Good night, folks. See you next week.
Next week, Joel McCrea in another authentic reenactment of a case from the files of the Texas Rangers. Joel McCrea is currently seen starring in the Universal International Technicolor production, Frenchie. Tonight's cast included Tony Barrett, Bill Johnstone, Parley Bear, Jeanette Nolan, Byron Kane, Mike Barrett, and Ernie Newton. This story was transcribed and adapted by Bob Reif, and the program is produced and directed by Stacy Keach. Hal Gibney speaking.
Three chimes mean good times on NBC. Remember all the delightful troubles that beset Mr. Blandings when he built his dream house? Well, starting next Sunday afternoon, you can hear the further adventures of the beleaguered Mr. Blandings and his wonderful wife, Muriel. It's top listening for the entire family next Sunday and Sundays thereafter when Cary Grant and Betsy Drake star as Mr. and Mrs. Blandings. Stay tuned for the $64 question. Tomorrow, hear the symphony on NBC.
A tropical environment intertwined with the rugged but gorgeous wilderness which spans from redwood to sequoia. This comes to mind when someone thinks about California. Our next broadcast ran from 1941 to 1946 and tells the story of the expeditions of men and women that tried to tame the wilds that existed in early California. Based on the title records of its sponsor, Title Insurance and Trust Company of Los Angeles, our next broadcast brought an appreciation of California through understanding of its past. We present to you Romance of the Ranchos, right here on HOJO Radio.
The Romance of the Ranchos. Los Angeles, 1830. American violates custom to win lovely senorita. Los Angeles, 1850. Murder of prominent American narrowly averted. Los Angeles, 1860. First theatrical troupe plays Los Angeles. The Title Insurance and Trust Company of Los Angeles presents The Romance of the Ranchos, a weekly dramatization of the colorful events and characters which make California history so interesting. Each week, our wandering vaquero, Frank Graham, returns to tell another true story of the days of the Domes. War Savings Bonds is the new official name for the securities that were formerly called Defense Savings Bonds. The change in name is significant. It indicates that America is now turning its attention to the all-out aggressive warfare which alone can bring final victory. So let us on the home front take the offensive too. Let us resolve again to go all out with the weapons we have, our dimes and dollars. Buy a War Savings Bond tomorrow. And now here to tell us the story is our wandering vaquero, Frank Graham.
Buenas noches, señoras y señores. Tonight we're going to trace the highlights from the life of Don Juan Temple, one of the earliest American pioneers in Southern California. On the land of Rancho Los Cerritos, his home, the great city of Long Beach now stands. The history of this man and the land furnish a romantic chapter in the romance of the Ranchos. It was in the year 1827 that this young Massachusetts-born man, John Temple, stepped off a sailing ship in the sleepy little part of Alta California, San Diego. They'd just beaten a course from faraway Honolulu, and the travelers were thankful to set foot on dry land.
Yeah, it's mighty pleasant, isn't it? Being able to stand up on your 2 feet, not feel a deck sliding out from under you.
I must admit that the feel of the land is a good one, even if it is in such a God-forsaken, out-of-the-way spot.
Oh, you mean this lovely little village of San Diego?
Sure, and what kind of hallucinations are you having? Lovely little village, is it? You're daft, man. Never have I seen a more desolate spot on the face of the globe. Hot, dry, baked, dirty, lonely.
In other words, this is not the sort of landscape that suits your fancy.
That's putting it mildly. Why anyone in his right mind would want to be putting up here, I don't know. But as for me, it only makes me long the more for my green hills of Killarney.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Come back in a year or two and I'll tell you what I think.
A year or two? Come back here?
Yeah, and when you do, look me up. So here's where we say goodbye.
Oh, man, what are you saying? Getting off here? You're out of your head.
Well, maybe, but I'm staying here. And what's more, I think I'm going to like it.
But, man, what will you do here? How will you live? What in the world?
Oh, don't worry. From all I hear about this country, I'll get along all right. A man can make his fortune here, they tell me. Live like a king.
Oh, but living here with these provincials...
I think I like them. You know, they take things easy. No rush or fuss. Sounds good to me. Anyway, there's nothing you can say to change my mind. I've thought it all over, so I'm going to stay.
You really mean it?
Uh-huh. The first thing I'm going to do is get myself baptized in their church. Then I'll become a citizen. And then, I'll just be one of them. I should get along all right.
Man, you are crazy. And it'll be my sad duty to tell all your friends that John Temple has buried himself alive at the end of the earth.
And California was just about the end of the earth, as far as the rest of the world was concerned, back in 1827, when John Temple became one of the first Americans to settle here. A few ships stopped at widely separated ports along the coast, but the towns were still the sleepy Mexican villages. John Temple had an idea that he'd find a good life, and he was right. For a while, he made his headquarters in San Diego, but soon he discovered Los Angeles and the beautiful country surrounding it. Then, too, there was another attraction nearby. The Senorita Rafaela Cota was attraction enough for any man, and soon Don Juan Temple was head over heels in love with the bright-eyed Spanish beauty. Finally, he called upon her one day.
Ah, Senor Don Juan, it is you.
Sí, señorita. Buenos días.
Won't you come in?
Sí, gracias.
I'm sorry, Senor. We did not expect visitors today. My mother is not at home.
No? Well, I'm just as happy for that, señorita. For it's you I came to see.
Senor, you flatter me.
No, Senorita Rafaela. One cannot flatter the beauty of a sunrise.
Senor.
And Doña Manuela, charming as she is, could hardly hold the attraction for a young man that her lovely daughter does.
Senor Temple, you are too bold. It is not proper that we should talk here like this, alone.
But it is. This is just the chance I've been waiting for a long time. We've never had a chance to speak, well, privately. Always there must be your mother or your aunt or someone.
That is the custom of my country, Senor. You know that. Young people should not be alone.
But there are things I want to say to you that I just can't say in front of other people.
That is the very reason for the custom. You must not say them. It is not proper.
Oh, come now, Senorita Rafaela. Certainly there are times when you'd like to talk to a man.
That is beside the point, Senor. What we might wish is not important. We cannot. It is not done.
But Americanos have no manners anyway, Senorita, and I'm an American. So please don't run off. Stay for just a minute.
But Senor...
Please. I have something I want to ask. I know that in your country I should ask someone else first, but I just can't do it. I can't until I know how you feel.
I, Senor Don Juan? Very well. I shall sit here. Now, what is it?
Well, I...
You said you wanted to ask me something?
Well, let's see. Oh, yes, I did, but...
Well, now I have stayed. I am here, seated beside you. What did you want to ask?
I don't know how to say it.
Oh, but you were so persistent. You said it was important. Something you could not say in front of others.
Oh, it is. It's very important to me, Senorita.
And yet, now that I have consented to disobey my mother and listen to you, you will not ask. Are you afraid, Senor?
See, I am. Now that the time has really come and I really have my chance, I'm afraid that your answer might not be what I want to hear.
Oh, I cannot say what my answer will be if you do not ask. Come, Senor. What is it they say? Faint heart never won fair lady?
Oh, then you know. You've guessed?
No, Senor. Oh, but I was only quoting Senor Shakespeare.
Oh, Senorita, you're laughing at me.
Oh, Don Juan, I'm not. Really. But what is it you want to ask me?
Well, I love you, Rafaela. I want you to be my wife.
Oh, Senor.
Well, I know I'm not much to look at. Probably you don't love me, but I think I can make you love me in time, and I'll try my best to make you happy.
Oh, Senor, I'm shocked. Shocked that you should speak of such a subject to me without my mother's permission.
Oh, I know, but I had to find out how you felt. I just couldn't bring myself to...
You are much too bold, Don Juan. If I had known the subject of your question, I should never have consented to listen.
Oh, no, please don't be angry. No, I apologize for my lack of manners.
You should, Senor. And now I must ask you to go.
Senorita, you won't even tell me if you'd be pleased if I ask your mother?
It is not proper, Senor, and you must go.
Oh, very well, then. I guess that's plain enough, how you feel. But I'm sorry to have troubled you, Senorita. Buenos dias.
Oh, but, Senor, wait. Please, well, perhaps it would be better if I were to go and you were to wait here.
Wait here?
Oh, see, my mother, she will be here at any minute, and, well, you might address your question to her, the proper person.
Senorita, you mean you want me to?
I should be most unhappy if you did not, querido mío.
And so Don Juan Temple found love in California, too. Soon he was married and settled in Los Angeles, and he started in business for himself. Very quickly, his little store prospered, for the Yankee had a keen business sense.
Well, Diego, they've arrived.
If you mean those great packages from Mexico, si, Senor Temple, they are here. But I haven't had time to unpack them yet.
Never mind, we'll unpack just one of the packages tonight and have them ready to sell tomorrow.
Just one. They're all alike?
See, the whole batch.
But what on earth are they? Never have I seen so many packages. It took a whole train of cars to bring them.
They're serapes.
Serapes? Madre de Dios, is that all? Just thousands of serapes?
See, that's all.
But, Senor Temple, what on earth for? Nobody sells serapes.
Well, that's just the point. Nobody does sell any. And yet everybody uses them. It's considered a great treat to get a new serape, imported from Mexico, and nobody has thought of importing some to sell right here.
Well, perhaps you're right.
Of course I'm right. You watch and see. Everybody will be buying serapes from me. I've got a corner on the business.
Talent in cornering the market on a product which everybody used was typical of John Temple's genius for business. Soon he was prosperous, a big man in a growing pueblo. He never went in for politics, but at one point in 1836, his store was the meeting place for a crowd of the town's most important citizens.
I'm telling you, senores, these things have gone on far enough. We've had enough of robbing and horse thieving and killing.
Yes, mi amigo. But what are we going to do about it?
I'll tell you what we're going to do about it. We're going to have a police force. That's right. Up to now, we've never had any need for them. But things are different these days.
You'll have a hard time getting the citizens to put up their money for a police force.
Sure we would. Only this police force won't be paid. No, because we're going to do the policing ourselves.
You mean we're going to be the police force?
That's right, senores. This meeting was called to form the first company of the Los Angeles Vigilante Society.
In those rough days, strong measures were needed to protect peaceful citizens from lawlessness. John Temple was to learn that himself by hair-raising experience. Since there were no banks in those days, most people kept their ready cash hidden somewhere about the house. When they needed things, they dug up the family hoard. John Temple, however, had a system. He made regular shipments to San Francisco, where his shippers kept a credit balance on hand for him. He used to carry the money down to the boat at San Pedro, and it was after one such lonely trip that he was confronted by his worried brother, Francis, who had joined him in California.
John, glory be, it's really you. Thank the Lord.
Well, what in thunder are you talking about, man?
Were you hurt? Did he harm you? How do you feel?
Francis, will you please explain yourself?
You mean you don't know?
No, what?
Well, didn't anything happen?
When?
On your ride down to San Pedro.
Oh, of course not. It was a very pleasant ride. Nothing at all out of the way.
Good Lord. How you escaped, I don't know. We were just forming a posse to look for you.
A posse? Oh, now look here, Francis. Explain to me what this is all about. Why in the world should you send a posse out after me? I'm old enough to take care of myself.
We just got word a little while ago that bandit Dave Brown was bragging around town that he was going to hold you up. He even told them his plans just before he left. He was going to waylay you on the road to San Pedro and then kill and rob you.
Good Lord, me with all that gold?
You didn't even see him.
No. Well, I took a different road today. Had some property I wanted to see over on the left bank of the river. So I rode that way.
No wonder. He's probably still lying in wait on the main road to San Pedro.
Holy Moses. I don't know what made me change my route today, but I thank the Lord I did.
As Los Angeles grew and John Temple's fortune grew with it, the American began to dream of new fields to conquer. He longed to own a great rancho, as had a few other Americans. And one day, as he talked to his wife, a solution came to him.
Ah, it'd be great. Just think, Rafaela, to have a lovely home in the country, a great rancho of your own.
See, I know. You forget, I have known rancho life. In fact, I own part of a rancho, Los Cerritos.
See, so you do. I'd almost forgotten. Oh, but all your brothers and sisters own part of it, too. I mean one all our own.
But have you thought perhaps Los Cerritos could be ours? All ours.
Why? What do you mean?
None of my brothers and sisters live there. It is useless to them. They are not interested in being rancheros. Many are married, live elsewhere. The land is not used at all.
No, but that doesn't change the fact that they own it.
It could. Many times I have heard my brothers express the desire to sell their share in the rancho. They would rather have what money they could get than the land.
No. They've really said that?
See. And as for the girls, what do they care about it? They have ranchos or homes of their own.
Oh, I see. Of course, right under my nose. A fine rancho. Fertile land for grazing, big enough for thousands of cattle, close to the harbor. Everything's ideal. And I hadn't even thought of it.
But you have now.
See. With your help, querida mia. And I shall buy the rancho Los Cerritos from your brothers and sisters. And on it, I shall build a most beautiful home. For you.
If you own a car, you probably have insurance on it, so that if it should be stolen, your loss would be repaid by the insurance company. When you buy a home, title insurance is just as necessary, because here, too, you run the risk of serious loss. If your title is ever proved invalid, perhaps because of some illegal sale or transfer long ago, you can lose your home. Now, obviously, you may have neither the time nor the required experience to examine your own title. But you can buy the service of experts to do this for you when you get title insurance from the Title Insurance and Trust Company of Los Angeles. The company will not only do this work for you, but it will also ensure the accuracy of its findings. It also protects you against many common off-the-record defects not revealed by the public records. And any loss or legal expense that you may suffer ever because of any one of these defects will be repaid by the company up to the full amount of the policy. Title insurance is the only safe and sound protection of your investment in land. And Title Insurance and Trust Company of Los Angeles provides this protection at rates so moderate that no property owner can afford to be without it. Learn how inexpensively you can obtain title insurance for your property.
For $275 apiece to each of the 12 children of Doña Manuela Nieto de Cota, Don Juan Temple purchased the great Rancho Los Cerritos, upon which today stands most of the city of Long Beach. There he built a great hacienda. Now, he was a great cattle baron as well as merchant. His interests, his investments, and his affluence grew apace. Soon he held a mortgage on the Mexican government's mint in Mexico City, a mortgage for which he once refused $1 million cash. His ventures in Los Angeles were to make him famous, too. For in 1858, at Main and Temple Streets, was completed a great building, a building built by Don Juan and called the Temple Block. But at first, this venture was a failure because...
But, George, what's wrong with it? Why won't you rent space?
Well, Johnny, it's a mighty fine building. Best in these parts, no doubt about that. But, I don't know.
Now, wait a minute. There must be some reason. You say it's fine, but you don't want to rent space for a store. You say it's the best building in Los Angeles, but you're going to stay where you are. Now, what's the matter? Am I asking too high rent?
Oh, no. Your rent's mighty reasonable, considering how new and fine everything is. No, it ain't rent.
And what in heaven's name is it?
Oh, nothing, Johnny. It's fine,
but you won't rent. I don't understand. Here I build what I think will be the showplace of Los Angeles, and nobody will rent it. They won't even tell me what's wrong.
You really want to know, Johnny?
Would I be asking you if I didn't want to know?
Well, just take a look at the door.
Yeah? Well, what's wrong with it? It's a perfectly good door.
Oh, yes, but look what leads up to it.
You mean the steps?
Yep, that's it, Johnny. Steps. Why couldn't you have built your stores flush with the streets? Why did you have to raise them up and put steps up to the door?
Well, why not? It's more artistic. It looks better.
No, but you'd starve to death in those stores.
Starve to death?
Sure, you know. You ran a store once. People won't climb stairs to buy, Johnny. No siree. They just won't climb stairs. As long as they feel that way and as long as you got stairs on your stores, I'll stay where I am.
The defect remedied, John Temple's building prospered. And in spite of the shaky start as a builder, he completed an even larger project the next year, in 1859. This was the first Los Angeles courthouse, a landmark for many years. It was an unusual building for the Los Angeles of that day in many respects. For instance, it had a high tower with a huge four-sided clock. It was such a local landmark that...
Hey, sir, here you are. Just step right up here. I got a real bargain to show you, sir.
What are you selling, young man?
I just arrived in your fair city from the mighty metropolis of the East, and I brought with me the latest in timepieces. Now, right here's a lovely old genuine silver-plated pocket watch, as fine a little clock as ever was offered for only $3. Now, as a special bargain to you, sir, I'll give it to you for only...
A watch, you say, young man?
Mm-hmm.
Well, never mind giving me a bargain. It won't do you no good.
Well, yes, but my dear man, no one can afford to be without a watch. Temper sure does, Fulgit. Time is precious, you know.
How long you been in this town, young feller?
Well, I just arrived this morning, sir. You're my first customer, and that's why I'm willing to part with this jewel of a timepiece for only...
Well, Sonny, you picked the wrong town. Take a look up there.
Huh? Where?
See that there clock on the tower there?
Oh.
Well, it's got 4 faces. You can see it from a mile outside of town, from any direction.
Wow.
Nobody in this town keeps a watch. They don't need 'em. You'd better catch the next boat out. You expect to make your living selling them chronometers.
Although the lower floor of the Temple block was given over to a great city market, the upstairs soon took on importance in the city life. The courtrooms of the United States district judges took up a part of the upstairs, and the other half became the first theater in Los Angeles. Great was the excitement when, in November of 1860, the company of Stark and Ryder, imported all the way from San Francisco, inaugurated the new stage.
No more will you be pursued by this vile villain, Little Nell, for I, True Blue Herald, will protect you, and virtue is triumphant once again.
George, you get me out of here right this instant. No telling when that nasty man might get loose. A body's not safe with a man like that around.
Oh, but Marthy, it's only play acting. He ain't really a villain.
Oh, don't tell me. I saw him with my own eyes. And he must be a bad man to play that part so well. And besides, George Smith, I saw you making sheep's eyes at that painted hussy on the stage.
Oh,
come on, you're going home right now.
John Temple introduced the first theater in Los Angeles and was a leader in bringing other cultural advantages and civic improvements to the fast-growing little town. Early, he'd been instrumental in founding a library association and acted as its first president. He had planted the first trees on downtown streets around his Temple block. Late in 1860, he put in the first brick sidewalk, a vast improvement over the rickety wooden ones in use. But he made one mistake. For one day, the following summer...
John Temple.
Well, buenos dias, mi amigo. What can I do for you?
Don't sling that Spanish at me. I'm going to sue you.
What, sue me? Oh, what for, George? What have I ever done to you?
This. Now, looky here. Just look at my shoes. They're ruined. And I'm going to sue you for a new pair.
What in the world do you have on them?
It's that black pitch, that tar.
Where'd you get it? What do I got to do with it?
Where'd I get it? From off in your sidewalks, that's where. You covered your bricks with that dad-blasted La Brea tar. And now in the heat of the day... Well, look out the window. Just take a look at them.
Well, what in the world?
Yeah, just look at them. Look at the people practically wading through that soft tar. Why, they're worse than the old mud sidewalks.
I didn't think about the hot sun on them.
No? Well, you'd better do something about it pretty quick, or you're going to have to buy everybody in town a new pair of shoes.
In spite of an occasional embarrassing moment, John Temple said Main Street, the aging pioneer was honored by having the thoroughfare named Temple Street, the name it still bears. But now, old Don Juan was not young anymore, and the cares of business weighed heavy upon him. So it was that in 1866, he gave directions to his business agent, Don Ignacio Garcia.
Welcome to Rancho Los Cerritos, Don Ignacio.
Gracias, Don Juan.
You have a nice trip down?
Si, it is always pleasant to come down here to this beautiful rancho. I don't blame you for staying here most of the time.
Yes, I know what you mean, but that's what I called you down here for. I'm not going to stay here anymore.
Not stay here anymore? You're coming into town?
No, I'm going to sell out, mi amigo. Leave.
Don Juan, you don't mean that. You're not going to leave California.
See?
But why? Where will you go? What are you thinking?
I know. It was a hard decision to make, but I've made it. You see, I've made my pile. I'm comfortably fixed. If I sell the rancho, pull up stakes, my family and I can travel, see the world.
But where? Where will you go?
Oh, Paris, maybe. You know, we went over there a while back. My wife likes it, and my daughter found a handsome gentleman over there. So it may be Paris.
Oh, mi amigo, but surely you'll come back.
I don't know. That remains to be seen. But I'll keep in touch with you. You'll still handle my business, all except Los Cerritos here.
And what about the rancho?
I'm going to sell. I've talked to a couple of fellas. Flint, Bixby and Company, they call themselves. They've offered me $20,000 in gold.
Caramba, that is a good price.
See, especially since things have been going badly here for some time. Drought, taxes and everything. I'll be glad to get out from under.
That is a very good price. I wonder why they pay that much in these times.
They're willing to for a reason, Don Ignacio. There's going to be a change here soon.
Change?
Oh, yeah, it's coming. These men aren't thinking of Los Cerritos as a cattle rancho. They're going to raise sheep.
Sheep?
Yeah. They'll make a go of it, too.
Sheep on a Southern California rancho?
I know it'll offend the cattlemen, but it'll save the rancheros. You wait and see.
Why don't you stay and raise sheep?
Oh, no, mi amigo. I'll leave that to the others. I'm going to relax a little now, enjoy life a little. No, This is Goodbye to California for John Temple.
But John Temple never did say goodbye to California, for he only had time to sell the rancho, settle up his affairs, and travel as far as San Francisco before death caught up with him late in 1866. Thus ended a life which meant much to the early growth of our Southland, a pioneer whose enterprise spelled progress for the community. Such is the romance of the ranchos.
In California's early days, land was bought and sold, traded and mortgaged much as it is today. But the total volume of such transactions, naturally, was much less. The customary procedure before modern title insurance service was available was to have some competent person make a search of all the available public records and make a report, which was called an abstract. This abstract was then passed upon by an attorney, and the deal was closed if, in his opinion, the title was sound. The purchaser, however, had no insurance to protect him against loss in the event that some document might have been accidentally overlooked or incorrectly construed. Today, such insurance is available from the Title Insurance and Trust Company of Los Angeles. And because of the efficiency of its hundreds of trained employees, both the search of the records and the insurance of the accuracy of the complete title examination cost modern landowners much less than partial protection did in the early days. And now, Frank, what's the story for next week?
Next week, we're going to trace the history of a romantic tract of land which houses a great part of Hollywood and Los Angeles today. The Rancho La Brea, which was owned by a colorful pioneer of the Southland, Major Henry Hancock. It's a dramatic story which goes back clear to prehistoric times, for on the rancho are the La Brea pits from which many valuable prehistoric relics have been taken. Be sure to hear it. And now, this is your wandering vaquero, Frank Graham, saying, Hasta la vista, señoras y señores.
The Romance of the Ranchos, a presentation of the Title Insurance and Trust Company of Los Angeles, featuring Frank Graham as the wandering vaquero, is dramatized by John Dunkel and produced by Ted Bliss, with special music arranged by Gaylord Carter. Bob Lamont saying good night. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
You're listening to HOJO Radio. Stay tuned.
The Romance of the Ranchos.
Rancho La Brea, 1769.
Portola expedition finds great tar pits.
Rancho La Brea, 1866.
Surveyor wins fight for Rancho in Supreme Court.
Rancho La Brea, 1902.
Ancient relics found in La Brea pits. The Title Insurance and Trust Company of Los Angeles presents The Romance of the Ranchos, a weekly dramatization of the historic events which make our Southern California so colorful and romantic. Each week, our wandering vaquero, Frank Graham, returns to tell a true story of the days of the Dawns. We have been fighting the Japanese for less than 5 months. The Chinese have been fighting them for almost 5 years. America is helping the Chinese government. The American people must help the Chinese people. Send your contribution today to United China Relief, Los Angeles. Title Insurance and Trust Company heartily endorses United China Relief, which will appreciate even a small contribution to aid 2 million war orphans and 50 million refugees in China. And to prevent there ever being 50 million refugees in this country, buy war savings bonds and stamps as often as you can. here to tell us the story is our wandering vaquero, Frank Graham.
Buenas noches, señoras y señores. Our story tonight deals with perhaps one of the most interesting of all the Southern California ranchos, the Rancho La Brea. It is interesting not only for the fascinating things revealed there, but for the family who have been most closely identified with it, the Hancock family. This is a story steeped in the romance of the ranchos. Our story tonight is unusual, for it has its beginnings in the dim forests of another age, long before the first recorded history of our world. But the first white men to see the Rancho La Brea knew nothing of that beginning. They were the soldiers and missionaries of the party headed by Captain Gaspar de Portola, soldier of Spain and explorer extraordinary. He'd set out from Mexico with a small party for the purpose of finding suitable sites for the establishment of missions in the wilderness of Alta California. And as they journeyed through the valleys of Southern California, marveling at all its wonders, they stopped to camp at a spring in a broad, marshy valley. And no sooner had they dismounted from their horses than...
Caramba, madre de Dios. There it is again. Hola, hombres. It's all right. It's finished. It was just a little one. No need to worry.
Capitan, let us not stay in this land any longer. We can help. I don't like this. Every few minutes, the very ground begins to heave so.
Calm yourself. They are just little earthquakes. They can do no harm.
Maybe no, maybe see. There's so many of them.
See, but they are little. They can do no harm.
But soon there may be a big one and the earth may open up and swallow us whole.
Pedro, you are dreaming. Stop thinking of such things. Nothing is going to happen.
I'm not so sure. No, neither are the men. They do not like it. They say this is a bad land.
Just because of a few little shakes.
They say there must be something here that causes it. Volcanoes or something.
Perhaps there are some in the mountains, but that need not worry us here, for we are far from the mountains.
See, but...
Now, Pedro, come. You must forget such fears. You are neglecting the preparations for our camp.
See, I had almost forgotten.
Come, bring your water pail. We shall go down and look over the spring.
See, very well.
Make the camp ready, hombres. We will bring water. Now, Pedro, come. And forget the earthquake.
See.
There. That look refreshing, eh? After a hot, dusty trip, a cool drink of water will taste fine.
Yeah, and as for me, I'm going to have some right now. Come, stretch out with me, Capitan. What is this? This water is warm, not cool.
Yeah, you are right. It is. Well, no doubt because of the hot sun. And it is so shallow. Well, it does not matter. It will quench our thirst and...
Madre de Dios! What was that?
Caramba. I don't know. It sounded like a shot.
But it came from over that direction. I do not like this.
There must be some explanation. Come. Let us go on through the underbrush here and see.
Oh, Madre de Dios. Saints preserve us.
Look. Caramba.
Madre sacra. What do you make of that?
Don't you see? It's a tar pit. The liquid pitch, it bubbles up with the water. It comes up out of the earth. Have you not seen a tar pit?
No.
Well,
never.
You see one now. The loud report we heard, it was the bubble of the pitch bursting. There. Watch. There goes another.
Madre de Dios.
Those loud reports of the bursting brea, or pitch bubbles, were heard for many years, echoing across the plains. But as the years passed, there were more ears to hear them. The Pueblo of Los Angeles was founded and grew, and the citizens found a use for the crude brea, which nature furnished so generously. After the bubble burst, great chunks of the crude asphalt were thrown out. These the villagers gathered up and carted to the Pueblo. There they laid them on the roofs and waited for the hot sun to complete the work. Later on, they were to use the brea for sidewalks as well as for roofing. And so the land on which La Brea Pit stood was a valuable asset to the Pueblo. The city fathers recognized that when, in 1828, the town blacksmith, a native of Portugal, by the name of Antonio Rocha, received happy news.
Antonio.
See, what is it, Senor Alcalde?
Stop that infernal noise and I will tell you.
See, there it is stopped. This had better be something of importance. I am a very busy man. Don Antonio Maria Lugo is waiting for his branding iron.
Never mind, amigo mío. This is important, all right.
Yeah.
You will not care whether you make another branding iron or not after you hear.
What's the matter with you? What could be so important?
A rancho, perhaps?
Huh? A rancho? You mean... you mean the Rancho La Brea which I have asked for?
Well, perhaps.
Madre Dios. Oh, senor, don't joke with me. Come. Tell me if it is so. I have been granted permission to live on the Rancho La Brea?
See, you have, amigo mío. The Ayuntamiento has decided that you are a worthy citizen and a good Catholic. And so it is yours in spite of the fact that you are Portuguese.
Oh, Don Jose. How can I ever thank you? Oh, gracias. I shall do everything the law requires. I shall build a house, stock it with cattle. I'll do everything. You shall see that I will make a good ranchero.
I have no doubt, Don Antonio. But wait, there is one condition to the grant.
¿Qué pasa? ¿Un condition?
See? On this land stand the pits of La Brea. These you may not own. They are reserved for the use of all the citizens of the pueblo. You must not restrict their use. You and everybody may still take as much brea as is needed for each man's use.
See, for what would I want with more of it than I need anyway? Now I am a ranchero.
When the ranch was first granted to Rocha, the valuable tar pits were reserved as communal property. But later on, the Ayuntamiento were to give the rights to a private citizen, Carlos Barrick, who sold the brea, gave 5% to the pueblo. But this practice had been discontinued by the time the Americans took over California, and when, in 1860, an American approached the widow of Antonio Rocha.
You have seen the Rancho La Brea, Major Hancock?
See, I have, Senora Rocha. In fact, I've surveyed all that section of land out there.
Tell me, is there any part of this country you have not surveyed, senor?
Well, not very much, Senora. But that's my job. County surveyor.
See. But tell me, you like the Rancho La Brea,
Very much. Enough to want to make it my home.
See, I am glad. But I must warn you, senor, I do not even know whether I can sell any of it. You see, the Land Commission has not allowed our claim. They say our grant was invalid.
I know that, Senora. They claimed that the land was within the limits of the pueblo, and therefore your grant could only be provisional.
See, that is what they said.
But, Senora, later, the Land Commission decided that the limits of the pueblo were smaller than they had supposed, so that changes the rancho, too.
You mean the rancho was not on pueblo land?
Exactly. It was outside by 2 leagues. So that means that your grant should never have been questioned.
And it is mine to sell to you?
As soon as the title can be cleared. See. And I'll help you to clear the title. I'm prepared to offer my services to you as your counsel.
But that is so kind of you. You are well known as an expert at such matters.
Oh, no, it's not kind at all, Senora. It's selfish on my part. I want to live on this land. I want to buy it from you. And so it's to my interest to establish your right to sell it.
Well, with you as my counsel, we cannot fail.
I sincerely hope not. We'll fight it out to the Supreme Court if we have to.
And Major Henry Hancock did have to fight the case to the Supreme Court to establish the Rocha claim to Rancho La Brea. Major Hancock pleaded the case himself in the district court, but when the Supreme Court brought it up, the famous surveyor had to turn the case over to his friend, Senator Cornelius Cole, who appeared before the High Court in Washington. And for his services in upholding the claim, Cole received a reward from Major Hancock, who now owned the rancho.
Well, there she is, Major. What, Senator? Whoa there, whoa. You mean this is the property you want?
Yep, that's it. From that line of trees up to the mountain.
Yeah, but, Senator, you ought to know better than that. I give you your choice of land on the whole ranch, and you pick out some of the most useless land on the property.
Why useless? Because
almost any other part of the ranch is more fertile. Better farming land, better grazing land.
What about better land for a town?
A town? Oh, no, Senator. What are you thinking of?
I'm thinking this land might make a good spot for a new town.
And you're going to start it?
Maybe. Might start a little town called Cool Grove. That's my vanity coming to the fore.
Senator, I won't let you do it. Why, you can make money on the land you buy, not throw it down a rat hole.
Now, wait a minute, Major. Our agreement was, if I handled the case before the Supreme Court, you'd give me a 10th part of this rancho. That part to be of my own choosing.
Yeah?
Well, this is the part I choose. And what I do with it was not in the agreement. So I guess you'll have to let me be foolish and found Coal Grove.
And a few years later, on the part of Rancho La Brea he chose, Senator Cole started the little village of Coal Grove, a village which is today a large part of Hollywood. But the rest of the rancho remained in the hands of Major Hancock and his family. And there they made their home. A foreshadowing of events to come was enacted one day when the Major talked with a friend.
Glad you could come out today, George. I'll show you around the place as soon as I get rid of this.
All right, Henry. What in the world is that?
Oh, just a bone.
A bone? Where in the world did you find it? It's mighty old.
Probably is. We're digging out the asphalt from the old tar pits, and I found this buried.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about your tar pits. Natives around here call them the boneyard.
Yes, I know.
Cattle and horses got stuck in the tar, huh?
Well, that seems to be the explanation.
Well, and that's what you have there. A bone from some old cow.
Maybe. But that's what puzzles me. I've never seen a cow bone just like this. I wish I knew more about them. I have a feeling there's something unusual about those tar pits.
And although Henry Hancock was right, he didn't live to find out just how unusual his tar pits were. Nor did he live to witness another great discovery on his Rancho La Brea. His widow was living on the land when, in 1901, she received a visitor.
See, madam, the oil company that I represent has discovered oil east of here, toward town. We're pretty sure that we'll find it out here, too. So I've taken the liberty of poking around your land.
That's quite all right, sir. Have you found anything interesting?
Very interesting. For instance, those old tar pits are definite proof that there is oil on this land, and lots of it.
The old tar pits? Why, there's tar there and asphalt. But oil, too?
Yes. Because you see, madam, that tar and asphalt is actually crude oil, or much the same thing. Tar and asphalt are byproducts of oil.
Then you mean there actually is oil on this land?
Millions of barrels. A well can be sunk almost anywhere on this ranch and bring up oil. Unless I miss my guess, your rancho will be a forest of oil derricks before long.
But oil is valuable, isn't it?
Valuable? Well, that's not the word for it, Mrs. Hancock. You're going to be a very wealthy woman.
Now the Rancho La Brea was the scene for more feverish activity than it had seen in all its years of life. Squads of men worked over the grounds. Here, there, and everywhere, gaunt wooden scaffolding stretched toward the California sky. But after several unsuccessful attempts, Mrs. Hancock herself financed a well. And one day...
What's that?
Sounds like... Yeah, come on. There she is. Look at it. It's your well. They brought her in.
You mean that shower of black water?
Black water? Mrs. Hancock, that's oil. Oil, they've struck it.
When you buy a home, you're said to acquire title to the property, and your right to possess and enjoy it is only as strong as the title itself. Now, that title involves not just yourself and the person from whom you bought. It goes back through the years to the time when your particular piece of property was first granted or sold to a private owner. In California, that generally means back to the days of an early rancho. Many sales and other transactions involving your property have taken place since then. Yet, if any one of them were faulty or illegal, your right to your home may be destroyed and your investment jeopardized. To protect that investment and to safeguard yourself against the possibility of expensive litigation, you can get a policy of title insurance from the Title Insurance and Trust Company of Los Angeles. This title insurance is more than a printed document. It represents a whole series of services, of which the three most important are these. First, an exhaustive search by trained experts of all public records pertaining to your property from its earliest ownership. Second, an interpretation of the results of this search by men skilled in title examination work for many years. Third, an insurance policy guaranteeing the accuracy of this work and protecting you against loss due to any title defect covered by the policy. Considering the scope and value of these services, you'll be surprised to learn how small is the cost of title insurance on your property. With the discovery of oil on Rancho La Brea, the modern development of that area began.
Now the oil derricks have given way to the smart homes and apartments of present-day Hollywood and the Wilshire district. But now, let's go back through the years and learn the secret of Rancho La Brea. A secret we have hinted at. A secret which makes it the most fascinating of all the early ranchos. A secret which was kept for 50,000 years and revealed only 40 years ago. In 1902 it was. And in that year, Professor W.W. Orcutt of the Union Oil Company's Geological Department was conducting an investigation at the tar pits.
You know, Phillips, this is immensely interesting.
Surely, sir. It was bound to be to an oilman.
No, it's more than oil that interests me.
What do you mean, sir?
I'm speaking strictly as a geologist now, Phillips. There's some exciting indications around these pits. Promises of historic discoveries.
Oh. Well, I suppose you geologists can find lots of old fossils and things of that sort all around here.
Not like this. Take those bones the workmen dug up.
Oh, those old things. What are you going to learn from a pile of old cattle bones?
Never mind. Come on. Let's take a look.
Oh, all right. You're the boss. But it's all pretty silly if you ask me.
All right. Now, we'll see how silly it is. And here's the latest pile. I haven't looked them over yet, but let's see what we find right now.
Anybody who's lived around Los Angeles for more than 6 months can tell you what you'll find. A bunch of old cattle bones. This probably was a watering place back in the old days, and the cattle got stuck in the tar like quicksand.
So? All right. Now, here's a bone. Obviously not a rib or a vertebrae, so it must be a leg joint.
Obviously.
But I'll stand it up. Now, did you ever see a cow with a leg that big? Let alone one bone of the leg?
Well, no. I hadn't noticed that before.
Yeah.
But maybe they were bigger in those days.
They were, but they weren't called cattle. In fact, they weren't called anything.
No? Why not?
Because there wasn't anybody here to call them anything.
Doctor, what are you talking about?
I'll explain. You see this?
Mm-hmm. Funny-looking bone.
Yeah.
Looks like a small elephant's tusk, almost.
You're nearer right than you think. It's a tusk or tooth, all right, but not of an elephant.
Oh, I understand now. It's a walrus tusk. What you mean is that this land was all underwater.
No, that's not what I mean. Although it may have been at one time. Nor is this a walrus tusk. This is the saber of a saber-toothed tiger.
Oh, yes, I've heard of them. Lived some time ago, didn't they?
Some time ago, my friend, the saber-toothed tiger hasn't lived for a good many thousand years.
You mean these are really fossils of these prehistoric animals?
Not fossils, Phillips. This is even more important than that. These are real bones preserved in oil, just as we'd preserve them in alcohol. These are actual bones of the saber-toothed tiger and the giant mastodon that lived on this land over 50,000 years ago.
The bones of the great saber-toothed tiger. Here was a find of immense importance. At last, California was to learn something of the life which swarmed over the dank jungles which were the Southland of 500 centuries ago. And from those oil-soaked bones that were found in the La Brea pits, the scene of the Pleistocene age was reconstructed. A fascinating, barbaric, terror-filled scene. Let us go back through the years for a moment and witness that scene. The mists of the time brush away. And now I see a great pool, submerged in a heavy arch of dense green foliage. A shimmering pool of tepid water, a few feet deep. In the surrounding jungle, scores of creeping, crawling, lizard-like creatures feed on the green leaves. From limb to limb of the giant plants leap others, equipped with bat-like wings. Everywhere there is life, slithering and squirming through the mud and heat. Suddenly, the placid calm is destroyed. The small animals dart for cover. The ground shakes with the footsteps of a moving mountain of hard-skinned flesh. Over the curtain of green leaves appears a great head with blinking red eyes searching for the waterhole. Then, lumberingly, the towering figure of the mastodon crashes down the brush and plods to the edge of the water. Slowly, the huge animal drinks from the tepid water. Slowly he moves into the water, toward the center of the pool, toward his doom. For there in the center of the water hole, bubbles are rising through the shallow water. Bubbles which mean that the floor of this pool is a bed of soft, sticky pitch. A death trap. Suddenly, the giant mastodon feels himself caught in a vice-like grip, sinking down into the depths. In spite of his desperate efforts, the treacherous pitch sucks him down. Attracted by his cries, the jungle comes alive again. Suddenly, across the valley, thunders a terrible cry. Chilling, awe-striking roar of the saber-toothed tiger, the bloodthirsty king of the jungle. Like a streak, the yellow monster with his great saber-like tusks bare races through the underbrush to the pool, and with one flying leap, pounces on the back of the dying animal. Savagely, the tiger tears at the tough flesh. All around the jungle arena, scores of beady eyes peer on the savage spectacle as their owners stand hidden in the foliage, poised for instant flight. High above the forest pool hover great sharp-billed vultures, their bat wings spread, their talons poised to join in the kill. Suddenly, the tiger slips, plunges into the treacherous liquid. And now, the victor is caught in a deadly grip, struggling beside the lifeless body of his victim. Quickly, the vultures dive. The wolves leap from the underbrush, all fighting for the flesh of the helpless animals. But they're not wary enough. Here a wing is dipped too low. A splash, and the vulture is caught. Now a wolf, tearing too greedily, slips into the waiting trap. But the others feast until the pool runs red with blood. The sun sinks low. The evening shadows creep over the weird scene. The great twisted masses of lifeless flesh and bone sink down into the dark depth, down out of sight. In the hardening tissues of the earth, they find a final resting place, a resting place to be undisturbed for 500 centuries. And now the primeval forest is quiet, except for the perpetual bubble of the La Brea pits. Such a savage, barbaric tragedy may well have taken place in our Southland 50,000 years ago. Yet there was some degree of immortality in that death of the monsters. For as the ages passed and the earth underwent many changes, their species was wiped out, all trace of them obliterated from the earth. Only these few, their bones preserved in the oily Brea, remain to tell modern science what manner of life roamed our Southland so many thousands of years ago. You may see those bones today in the Museum of Art and Science at Exposition Park in Los Angeles. And you may visit that lonely jungle pool in Hancock Park at Wilshire Boulevard near Fairfax, in the heart of a great modern city. It was made a gift to the city by Captain Allen Hancock, Major Henry's son, in 1913. And there, surrounded by chrome and glass and neon, you may still recapture some of the thrilling grandeur of that savage, barbaric scene. Such is the romance of the ranchos.
Frank Graham will be back in a moment to tell you about next week's story. As its name clearly indicates, the Title Insurance and Trust Company of Los Angeles has a trust department as well as a title department. In fact, Title Insurance and Trust Company is the oldest trust company in the Pacific Southwest, having served this community since 1901. A primary function of the trust department is the conservation of accumulated estates. The first step in conservation is avoidance of unnecessary shrinkage from taxes, probate, or other expenses. Without obligation, capable, experienced officers of the Estate Planning Division will work with you and your attorney in developing a plan for your estate, which may benefit both you and your family. You're invited to write or call for information about this and other important services available to you at Title Insurance and Trust Company. Now, Frank, What's the story for next week? Next week, we're going to trace the fascinating history of our own Pueblo de Nuestra Señora la Reina de Los Angeles, the early history of the world's most amazing city. I know you'll want to hear it. So until next week, this is your wandering vaquero, Frank Graham, saying, Hasta la vista, señoras y señores. The Romance of the Ranchos, a presentation of the Title Insurance and Trust Company of Los Angeles, featuring Frank Graham as the wandering vaquero, is dramatized by John Dunkel and produced by Ted Bliss, with special music arranged by Gaylord Carter. Bob Lamont saying good night. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
By the mid-1950s, when our next program began, most of the actors on the West Coast were doing some sort of television or movie work, so the program was rehearsed and taped for transcription during the evening. Once a week, the cast and crew got together at CBS Studio One in Hollywood to tape the show. In 1956, this was the last radio production studio in use in California. Our series aired 41 episodes from January 22, 1956 to October 28, 1956. We present to you Fort Laramie, next on HOJO Radio.
At the gallop! Ho! Fort Laramie. Fort Laramie, starring Raymond Burr as Captain Lee Quince. Specially transcribed tales of the dark and tragic ground of the wild frontier, the saga of fighting men who rode the rim of empire, and the dramatic story of Lee Quince, Captain of Cavalry.
Lieutenant Sybert's reporting is ordered, Captain.
Oh, yes, Mr. Sybert. I have a special detail for you.
Yes, sir?
We've received a report there's a band of Brule Sioux camped on the North Fork near White Butte. I want you to ride out and see what they're up to.
Yes, sir.
They're too close to the Bozeman Trail. Better take a scout with you. I suggest Dan Tolliver.
I prefer Pete Hazen, sir.
Oh? Why?
I don't care for Tolliver.
He's the best scout on the post.
He's a squaw man.
You've still got a lot to learn about the West, Mr. Syberts. I suggest you might find old Dan Tolliver a very valuable teacher.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sirree, son. I come out to these parts when I was a lot younger than you. Mighty lot younger. Nothing on my cheeks but peach fuzz.
Must have been rugged in those days.
Rugged? Why, son, there weren't a town or village twixt St. Joe on the Missouri and Monterey on the Pacific. Man had room to breathe. Now look at it. Immigrants pushing west every year, filling the plains with dust and damnation. I can't say I blame the Indians for being a mite put out about it.
I'd expect you to look at it their way.
What are you signifying by that, son?
Well, I understand you've been closer to the Indians than some of us.
Well, so I have, in the manner of speaking. Lived amongst them off and on for many a year. Fine people. Decent people.
I saw how decent they were up on the Powder River. Man doesn't look very pretty after they've been decent to him.
What part of the state you call home, son?
Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm. Well, how'd you feel if all of a sudden a lot of people started crowding into your hometown, moving onto the streets you live in, moving right square into your house, maybe? What'd you do?
Well, I don't know.
And I know. You'd throw them out, that's what. Well, this whole prairie belongs to the Indian. Yes, sir, it's his home. And he feels about it just the same way as you do about your home.
It isn't the same thing.
Well, it might seem the same to an Indian.
That's ridiculous.
Oh, wait a minute.
What is it?
Indian.
Where?
Down there in that draw.
Oh, yeah. Hey, his horse is bucking.
Yeah.
Look.
Well, first time I ever knowed an Indian to get thrown off his horse. Let's go. Come on. Here.
Hey!
Rattlesnake.
He's going to strike. That's why our horse threw her.
Yeah, that snake ain't going to be much use no more.
You better get a tourniquet on that leg before the poison starts moving.
Well, you could use your revolver, Lanyard.
Oh, sure. Tell her not to be afraid. Tell her we'll take care of her.
I understand you.
Oh, well... It's got the blood stopped. Now, I'm going to have to cut your leg so I can suck out the poison. I'll try not to hurt you.
She's fainted.
It's just as well. I had to make sure to get all that poison out.
That Indian blood taste any different from regular blood?
What are you talking about? Blood's blood.
That's what I've been talking about.
Help me get her over to my horse.
Where are you taking her?
Back to the fort.
Well, you think that's smart?
We can't leave her out here. She needs a doctor's care.
Well, we could try to find her people's camp.
And leave her with them to die of blood poisoning?
She's only an Indian, son.
All right, Tolliver, that's enough. Let's get our horses. It's a long ride back to the fort.
What you've done may have serious consequences, Mr. Syberts.
What else could I do, sir?
Look, from the Indians' point of view, you've kidnapped one of their women.
Well, I suggested we ought to find her village captain, but the lieutenant said bring her here.
We can only hope they didn't see you.
And that's doubtful. Her pony bolted, and when it gets back to camp without her, there'll be a devil to pay. She ain't no ordinary squaw.
What do you mean?
By the look of her clothes and the way she wears her hair, she could be the daughter of a chief. Lieutenant Syberts, we're here to keep the peace, not to commit overt acts of hostility.
It was only an act of simple Christian charity.
Lieutenant, you'll form a detail at once and return that girl to her people.
But, sir, the doctor says she's got to stay in bed for at least a couple of days.
Corporal of the guard, sir.
Well?
Post number 3 reports a party of Indians riding toward the main gate.
How many?
50 or 60 of them, sir.
What do you think, Dan?
My guess is to come to parley.
Hope you're right.
Let's see what they want.
I suppose that's the chief riding in alone.
It's Spotted Tail. He's always been friendly.
Well, he ain't dressed up friendly today, Captain. Every scalp he ever took dangling in his belt.
Shall I fall in the company, Captain?
Don't move, Syberts. Greetings, friend. The soldiers of the Great White Father are honored by the visit of the mighty Spotted Tail.
The soldiers of a Great White Father say one thing, do another. Say want peace, steal land, shoot buffalo, call it peace. Now steal Indian woman, steal daughter of Spotted Tail.
Your daughter was not stolen, Spotted Tail. She was hurt. This officer brought her here so the doctor could help her.
Where is Awapa, my daughter?
She is in the hospital. I'll take you to her.
It's true, my father. White soldier, help me.
Why enemy of Indian save Indian life.
We do not want to be your enemy, Spotted Tail. We want peace.
I hear this many times before.
I'm sorry, Captain, but you'll have to go now.
Come, Spotted Tail. Ahuapa must rest.
Not leave. Daughter belongs to her people. I take.
But she can't be moved.
I move.
No, my father. I do as white doctor say.
You come to the lodge of your father.
Captain, I can't be responsible.
Spotted Tail, hear me. Ahuapa will live. She will be well in a few days. If you move her now, she may die.
So medicine man make my daughter well.
Spotted Tail, you can pitch your lodge outside the fort until Ahuapa is well again. You can see her every day.
Spotted Tail not Asian Sea Indian. Is warrior. Must hunt.
You can hunt around here. There's plenty of game.
White soldier keep daughter of Spotted Tail in prison.
My father wise chief. He know this no prison. Is hospital. These no enemy. They friend. Ahuapa here. Ahuapa stay here.
Aye, then. Be it so.
Well, Mr. Syberts, your little adventure didn't turn out so badly after all.
No, sir.
But I don't advocate rescuing Indian maidens in distress as a substitute for military duties.
No, sir, only...
Only what?
Had the captain been in my place, I feel sure he would have done the same thing.
Oh?
Yes, sir.
Maybe so. She's a spunky little baggage. You, going over to the quarters?
As a matter of fact, sir, I thought maybe I'd drop in at the hospital here.
I see. Well, good luck, Mr. Syberts.
Thank you, sir. Morning, Doctor.
Oh, Lieutenant Syberts.
How's your patient this morning?
Well, now, I have more than one, Lieutenant.
How is she?
Well, now, by a curious coincidence, she was inquiring about you this morning.
About me?
Yes. She asked me to send for you.
Why?
Why don't you ask her? She's quite well enough to talk to now.
Thanks, Doctor. Morning, ma'am.
Now is good.
You feeling better?
Pain all gone.
That's fine.
Ahuapa owe life to Lieutenant. Ahuapa belong, Lieutenant.
I beg pardon?
How else Ahuapa show thanks?
By getting well quickly.
Is not enough.
It's all the thanks I need.
Is strange.
What is strange, Ahuapa?
White man, Indian, both men. White men think different.
That's because we've been taught differently.
Ahuapa like way white man think. You teach Ahuapa think this way?
That's quite a large order.
But you do. First you teach Ahuapa speak white man tongue.
You speak English very well.
Not good, Ahuapa think. You teach better.
I'll be glad to try.
Good. You begin now.
I don't know where to begin.
How does Lieutenant call himself? Me, Ahuapa. What lieutenant?
Oh, my name is Syberts, Richard Syberts.
Richard. Good. See? Ahuapa learn first important English word.
Syberts?
Sir?
Mrs. Syberts, I may be mistaken, but I don't believe I saw any change in the order of the day.
I beg pardon, sir?
Since when have sash and plume been indicated as proper dress for the officer in charge of guard mount?
Oh, well, it isn't, sir, but I thought it might be good for the morale.
The morale of whom?
Why, the men, sir, naturally.
How's that, Lieutenant?
Well, sir, it also occurred to me that it might make a good impression on the Indians around the post. They put a lot of stock in their own headdresses and ceremonial regalia. I thought it might be a good idea to show them what our dress uniform looks like.
Lieutenant Syberts, the only Indian who witnessed this guard mount was Ahuapa.
I'd noticed that, sir.
And had you noticed that each time you are the officer of the day, she is here on the parade ground to watch you change the guard?
Well, sir, I guess she's interested in soldiers, sir.
Soldiers? Or a certain soldier?
I wouldn't know, sir.
I believe you're off duty now.
Yes, sir?
Then, Lieutenant, I suggest you shouldn't keep the lady waiting.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. It always makes me a little sad to see such a sunset. So beautiful.
My people say they not wish to die. And each evening, Great Spirit must fight with it until it die bloody death. And only when it scalped will night come. Warrior may sleep, gain strength to meet new day.
My people say the sun is a handsome god who rides across the sky in a golden chariot, forever chasing the beautiful goddess who is the moon.
And does he ever catch her?
Never.
It's a sad story. He should catch her.
He can't, for he belongs to the day and she to the night.
But if he did catch her, what would happen?
Who knows? So great is their love, perhaps the heavens would burst into blinding flame, consuming everything.
Oh, yes. But he would have caught her.
Yes, he would have caught her.
He gone now, your handsome sun god. Gone over edge of world. Great Spirit has killed him.
Oh, no. He's not dead. Look over in the east. The moon goddess comes following after him.
Richard?
Yes?
I am that moon goddess. You are that god of sun. And I follow you always. And never may I catch you.
No. No, I won't run away over the edge of the world like the sun. I'll stay here with you. Always. Always.
You're not afraid of blinding flame that consume everything?
I'm not afraid.
Then I'm not afraid.
Good evening, Lieutenant Syberts.
Hello, Piney.
You want a little rye?
No, thanks. I'm looking for Captain Quince. Has he been in?
No, I haven't seen him all evening.
Well. Hello there, son.
Hello, Dan.
How about you and me having a little drink?
No, thanks.
Oh, come on now. That ain't very sociable. Seems how you and me got a lot in common.
What do you mean?
Oh, you know what I mean.
If you'll pardon me, Mr.
Wait,
Tolliver.
what's your hurry, son?
I'm sorry.
Oh, now, wait now. Nothing like a pretty little squaw to change a man's mind about Indians, is there, son?
You filthy-minded
Oh, now,
foul...
son, now wait. There's no cause to get your dander up. I was just a...
At ease! At ease! Now, what's this all about?
Captain Quince, you ought to take better care of this young man of yours. He seems mighty touchy.
Mr. Seibert, you're aware of the regulations covering the conduct of officers in uniform?
Yes, sir, only...
You'll consider yourself confined to quarters until further notice.
Yes, sir.
Captain Quint's reporting, sir.
Good morning, Lee. I hear you refereed a little scuffle over at the Sutlers last night.
Why, yes, sir.
One of our officers fighting a civilian.
Well, Major Daggett, as far as I can see, he was provoked.
Did Dan Tolliver attack him?
No, sir. Tolliver was taunting him about the Indian girl.
Seibert's in love with her?
Apparently.
Well, his love affair will have to wait. We've got more important things to worry about. That's why I sent for you.
Yes, sir.
Just got a dispatch from Fort Kearney. Some idiot Kansas militia outfit attacked a Cheyenne village last week.
But we have a treaty. We're at peace with the Cheyenne.
Apparently it didn't mean a thing to those brave civilian soldiers. They attacked without warning or provocation. Massacred every man, woman, and child in the village. Come in.
I beg pardon, sir.
Yes, Sergeant. What is it?
The Indians are pulled out. They was there last night, but this morning there ain't a single teepee down by the river. Just a couple of stray dogs.
They got the news quicker than we did.
They always do.
A party of Cheyenne is killed and the Sioux take to the warpath. We may have a general uprising on our hands. Have your company ready to move out in half an hour, Captain.
Yes, sir.
It's not good for daughter of chief to be tied like prisoner.
It is not good for daughter of chief to refuse to follow her people to war.
We are now many marches from white man. Untie me now. I shall stay with my people.
It is good. You will get well in your mind now. The white man medicine make your body well, but your mind sick. You will be well now.
There is much good about white man.
He killed our people.
Not white man at Fort Laramie. It was others. And it was not our people who were killed. It was the Cheyenne. We at peace with white man at Fort Laramie.
White man is white man. Indian is Indian.
And soon white man will kill us all if we not make peace with him.
Then we will die brave in battle, not drunk on reservation.
You will. Warrior will. But what of women? What of me?
For many moon, Dark Elk want you for his wife. Marry him and have many babies.
I will remain with my people as long as I live. That I promise. But I will never marry Dark Elk or any other Indian. Another glass of punch, Major? Captain Quinn?
Thank you, Mrs. Davenport.
On Christmas Eve? Why not? Thank you. Well, Merry Christmas, Lee.
Merry Christmas, Major.
Hey, where's young Seiberts? Thought the doctor was letting him out of the hospital at last.
He'll be along presently. Major, I have a suggestion to make, if I may.
Sure, go ahead, Lee.
This has been a bad winter so far. It looks like it's going to be worse. The Indians they're bound to feel it. Game is scarce. They haven't the advantages of the treaty supplies we were furnishing them before they took the warpath.
What's your suggestion, Lee?
Call them in for a peace parley as soon as the snows melt, say April 1st. Maybe we can end this useless bloodshed.
Maybe, but I don't think they'll come.
Why not?
After that massacre in Kansas last summer, they won't forget. I can't say as I blame them.
Worth a try, isn't it, sir?
Certainly, anything's worth a try.
Good evening, sir.
Evening.
Oh, Lieutenant, how's the arm?
Doctor says it's going to be all right, sir.
Lucky you didn't lose it. You should have seen it, Major. Arrow cracked the bone, pinned his arm against his side. It's a miracle he's alive.
I know. Those were Spotted Tail's warriors, Lieutenant?
Yes, sir.
Any idea who got you?
Yes, sir. A warrior named Dark Elk. He was after my scalp. I shot him.
That change your opinion of Indians, Lieutenant?
No, sir. They're a fine race of people, sir.
Come in.
Beg pardon, sir.
Yes, Lieutenant. What is it?
Party of Indians approaching the post, sir.
War party?
No, sir. Women and children along with the braves.
Yeah, maybe we'll have a peace parley after all. Let's go out and meet them. Oh, where's Captain Quince?
Right outside, sir.
Major, it's Spotted Tail.
I see it is.
Greetings, soldiers of the great White Father.
Greetings, brave Spotted Tail.
I come in peace and in sorrow.
What sorrows the mighty chief of the Sioux?
My daughter, Awapa, has gone beyond the sunset to join the Great Spirit.
She's dead?
The soldiers of the great White Father joined in the sorrow of Spotted Tail.
The winter was long and cold. There was little to eat. A fever came to Awapa and would not leave her until at last she left me forever. But before she fell into long sleep, she asked 2 favors. One I can grant. The other I must ask of you.
And what are those favors, Spotted Tail?
She asked me to make peace with a white man. I have come to make peace.
It is good, Spotted Tail. And what is the favor you must ask of me?
Awapa love white man. Awapa say if she cannot be with white man in life, then she wish to be with him in death. Awapa ask to be buried at Fort Laramie.
It shall be done. Captain Quince?
Yes, sir?
Would you be good enough to assign a funeral detail? Full military honors.
Yes, sir. Lieutenant Syberts? Lieutenant Syberts!
Sir.
Take charge of the detail.
Yes, sir.
Fort Laramie is produced and directed by Norman MacDonald and stars Raymond Burr as Lee Quince, Captain of Cavalry, with Vic Perrin as Sergeant Gorse. The script was specially written for Fort Laramie by William N. Robeson, with sound patterns by Bill James and Ray Kemper. Musical supervision by Amerigo Marino. Featured in the cast were Harry Bartell, Jack Moyles, Lillian Bayef, Ralph Moody, John Daner, John Stevenson, and Don Diamond.
Company, tension! Dismiss.
Next week, another transcribed story of the Northwest frontier and the troopers who fought under Lee Quince, Captain of Cavalry. Each Monday through Friday evening, CBS Radio rings you in on the fabulous adventures of insurance investigator Johnny Dollar. Just by decoding the cryptic items in his expense account, you'll learn how a dime spent in a phone booth can lead to a scene of the wildest suspense. Then on to a sum spent for an airplane ticket, or an item for a new shoelace, and again you'll find yourself smack in the middle of a thrill-packed situation. Each new adventure moves the story forward to its dramatic payoff when Johnny Dollar solves yet another case of arson, fraud, or murder. Every Monday through Friday night over most of these same stations, hear yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
You're listening to HOJO Radio. More classic old-time radio coming your way next.
At the gallop! Ho!
Fort Laramie. Fort Laramie, starring Raymond Burr as Captain Lee Quince. Specially transcribed tales of the dark and tragic ground of the wild frontier. The saga of fighting men who rode the rim of empire. And the dramatic story of Lee Quince, Captain of Cavalry.
You see that, Monk? I blew the top of his head clean off.
Beginning where?
Right at the eyebrows. Sliced him just as clean.
You figure that killed him then, huh?
Oh, sure, he's dead.
Well, I declare that makes a fair morning shooting, Harrison. Let me see now. You killed Crazy Horse, Blackleg, and American Horse just since I've been walking.
You ain't forgetting Roman Nose.
You shoot him, too?
Oh, yeah, the last one, he was Roman Nose.
Well, now, ain't that peculiar? I'd have swore he was killed at the Rickery a year or two back.
No, I just now killed him. Hey, you think maybe they'll give me a stripe for that, Monk?
Oh, I don't know, boy. Seeing he's been dead that long, they might not figure it's worth no stripe.
Yeah. You ain't practicing much, Monk.
Oh, well, didn't you know? I was killed a while back whilst I took the time to reload my Springfield.
Now, get me another.
Who'd you get, boy?
I missed the target. I guess I've been lying on my belly too long.
Yeah.
Oh. It happens, don't it, Monk?
What happened?
Men get themselves killed on account of having to stop and reload after every single shot.
Sure it happened.
My daddy used a Springfield just like this one in the war between the states.
Your daddy used one in the Civil War, boy.
Now, don't you start that up again.
We both used them. Yankees and rebels alike. Now, if you're saying it's time we had a better firearm against the Indians, you're just right, Harrison. You are just right.
You tried them Spencers, Monk?
Sure. We had them in the war. They load right behind the bore. Their shapes are all right. Shorter, you know. Make better carrying for a trooper, but they ain't the answer.
I'd sure admire to try one.
Captain Quince, him and them other officers, they got the answer, boy. Henry rifles.
Yeah, them repeaters.
You ever ask yourself any questions, boy, there'd be a good one for you.
How's that?
How come the only ones that's got them new Henry rifles is some of the officers and most of the Indians?
I don't ask myself questions like that, Monk.
Make mighty interesting answers, questions like that.
Monk, you better hold your tongue. We ain't exactly alone.
Boy, you ain't never alone in the Army.
Don't stop talking in my account, man. I'm very interested in what you're saying.
Must be, seeing you was writing most of it down.
No, just making a few notes. Go on. About the rifles.
What's he talking about, you suppose?
You got some business here, mister?
I have papers from Major Daggett giving me permission to move freely about the post.
Well, now, ain't that nice of the Major, sending us a moving target to practice on?
You some kind of spy coming around here in mufti? Sneaking around the rifle butts, writing down everything we say?
I'm a correspondent for the New York Star. That's a newspaper.
You want to buy a paper, Harrison?
Who'd I get to read it to me?
All right, man. Maybe you can point out Captain Quince to me, then.
You're facing that way, Harrison. You point him out.
He was up there at the head of the line. Now, I ain't saying he's there now.
I think I can find him. He would be the one carrying the Henry rifle, wouldn't he?
Harrison, I think I'm going to pass that suggestion on to the Major. I think we'd do a sight better shooting at a living target, especially if he carried a notebook with him.
Yes?
Captain Quince?
That's right.
You're sure you are Captain Quince?
Something on your mind, mister?
I'll just take your word for it. I don't think I can walk anymore. Oh. My name is Harkness, David Harkness. I'm a correspondent from the New York Star. That is a newspaper.
Yes, I know. Did you walk out from New York, Mr. Harkness?
It feels like it. I think I have just been initiated into the Army, Captain.
Initiated?
Mm-hmm. The Major told me I would find you on the firing range. I walked there. A sergeant said you might be at the cavalry stables. I walked there. From there, I walked to the saddlery on someone's advice, then to the corral and to the post office. And finally here to old what is it?
Old Bedlam.
Old Bedlam. I think maybe your men wanted to be sure I had a long walk.
Mm-hmm. The men wanted to know who was listening in on private conversations, writing down what they said.
I told them who I was.
After you made your notes.
That's right. The Major gave me a free hand on the post. Guess I used it a little too freely. I didn't mean any harm, Captain.
Men will talk freer once they know you and trust you.
Well, then you don't have any objection to my talking with the men?
No, not if they don't.
Oh. Captain Quince, one thing I overheard, bothers me. Can I ask you about it?
Go ahead.
At target practice on the firing range, those men are still using single-shot Springfields.
Them and a few Spencer carbines.
Now, the men say they're outmoded.
They are.
The men are not issued Henry rifles?
We don't have them to issue.
But some of the officers have them. Am I right?
Some of us. I have one.
You have one, but your men haven't.
Mr. Harkness, my men make $13 a month. They can't afford to buy Henry rifles.
You mean to say you bought yours, Captain?
Like the rest of the officers who have them. At the Sutler's store.
Well, shouldn't the Army equip itself with the best possible arms?
Of course it should, but guns cost money, Mr. Harkness. So far, we can't afford the kind of guns we need.
Well, now, in Washington, they talk of nothing but appropriations for the Army in the West.
Talk doesn't send us any guns.
Well, these Henry rifles, they are to be had. I mean, providing the Army gets the money to pay for them, they're not in short supply?
A lot of the Indians have them, Mr. Harkness.
I heard that, too. I couldn't believe it.
I've seen it.
How do the Indians get them? Who in the world would sell guns the Army needs to the Indians?
Oh, renegade whites, traitors, kind of men who get rich on other men's blood.
I am a long way from home, Captain Quince. It's another world. I've got an awful lot to learn.
You never stop learning out here, mister.
Well, Captain, I'm here for a month. Can I learn enough in that time to give me a fair picture?
Well, you got a good start. You admit you got a lot to learn. You sent for me, sir?
Sit down, Captain. Yeah. Read this.
Mm-hmm. Well?
I'm just assuming that the anonymous captain in Mr. Harkness' story is you.
I talked to him, if that's what you mean.
I'd say you did quite a good job of talking, Captain. The men have outmoded equipment. The officers buy their own repeating rifles. The Indians have little trouble coming by Henry rifles. Do you want that printed in a large New York newspaper?
Do you?
I emphatically do not.
It's the truth.
Of course it's the truth. That's not my point.
I'd like to know your point.
Ali, I don't want our tempers involved in this. I'm questioning your judgment, and I want some answers.
That's good. So do I. You sent this Harkness looking for me, right?
Yes, I sent him.
You knew he was a correspondent for a newspaper. You gave him the run of the post. That means he can ask questions and get answers, right?
Yes, that's right.
He asked me some questions. I answered him.
I see you did.
It's an Army secret that we're short of equipment?
I've sent the same information on to Washington for months now. You know that, Captain. I've requested, I've pleaded, I've begged.
And nothing's happened.
They're a long way from the problem, Lee. The need diminishes with the miles between. This kind of newspaper article can stir up public opinion. Just wonder if it's wise.
If plain facts stirs them into action, I don't see it's unwise.
The Army moves its own way. I know you don't always agree with it, Captain, but if this article causes trouble, it's my trouble, not yours.
Then I'd say you'd better make up your mind, Major.
How's that?
Harkness, if he's got your leave to be here and take a square look at things, ask questions, get answers, you're going to get articles like that one. If you don't want them, why, kick him off the post.
Mm-hmm. Did Mr. Harkness tell you how the people in the East feel about the Indians?
We talked about guns.
As I understand him, we're the villains, Captain, the Army. And the red men are all peace-loving hunters who never kill or plunder or raid.
Is that all, Major?
No, that's not all, Captain. The settlers along Fish Canyon have reported a rash of small raids. Take a patrol out tomorrow morning. Bring me a full report.
Right.
I want you to take Mr. Harkness along, Captain.
It's not my job to mind what he sees, who he talks to, what words he sets down.
I want him to see all he can see and write all he can write, so long as it's true.
You'll tell him that?
I'll tell him. Any questions, Captain?
No, sir.
Then move out.
Well, how you riding, Mr. Harkness?
If I join the Army, Captain, I put in for the infantry.
The other day, when you were walking, you wanted a horse.
Yeah. I'm hard to please.
You're human.
How long will we be out, Captain?
Well, it depends on what we find. And who we find.
The Major said we were going to talk to some settlers.
About Indian raids.
And we might find Indians, too.
Yeah? Or they might find us.
I guess you never know, do you?
You never know.
Captain, will you let me know when we're in Indian country?
You're in it.
Oh? Oh. Well, the settlers, I should think they'd want to live near a Fort Laramie for protection.
We'll be coming on to some settlers soon. Ask them.
That was a deserted cabin along the creek, Captain. No Indian signs around.
What about the calendar place, Mr. Syberts?
Straight ahead, sir. Fish Canyon.
Straight ahead? How far, Mr. Syberts?
I'd say about 2 miles, sir.
Fine.
Mr. Calendar's the one I was telling you about.
I remember, Mr. Syberts. Oh, you know Mr. Harkness?
We met last night.
Lieutenant Syberts was a big help, Captain.
That so?
I didn't do much, really.
What do you mean, Lieutenant? Those diaries of yours gave me a lot of valuable background.
Diaries, Mr. Syberts?
They're not much, sir. Well, it just gives me something to do sometimes.
I'd like to read yours sometime, Captain.
I'd have to write it first.
You don't keep any written record of your experiences out here?
No.
Well, I think there'd be a lot you'd want to remember, Captain.
Well, there's more I want to forget. 2 miles, Mr. Syberts?
2 miles, sir.
Patrol! Halt! You want to meet a settler, Mr. Harkness?
Oh, I sure do.
Well, climb down then.
All right. Oh.
Ooh. It looks quiet enough here, Mr. Syberts, but keep an eye alert.
Yes, sir.
Sergeant!
Yo!
Sergeant, take Harrison and Monk, circle back by the barn, those sheds near the wash. Check the area for Indian signs, report back.
Yes, sir.
Harrison, you. Monk, come on, follow me.
This would be Mr. Calendar's place.
That's right.
Can't blame him for choosing this spot. Beautiful country.
That's as far as you go.
No need for the rifle, Mr. Callender.
I'll be the judge of that. I've no use for the army. Said so the last time. Say it again. Now get off my land.
Guess you haven't been raided along here. Report said you had.
That's always your excuse, ain't it? Come snooping around a man's property, claiming to look for Indians.
Seen any Indians, Mr. Callender?
Seen nothing. Now, you don't frighten me, riding up in numbers. I got my rights and you're trespassing.
You don't have any trouble with the Indians?
Don't have no trouble with anyone, save the army. That one out there, young one, sitting his horse so proud.
Lieutenant Syberts?
Their name's no matter. Caught him here a week or so back, fired on him for snooping, sneaking up on a man's own land. Told him not to come back.
I know that.
That one more bar you wear don't make you any more welcome. You're still the army.
Heard enough, Mr. Harkness?
No, I haven't. The army is out here to protect people like you, Mr. Callender. Now, what have you got against that?
I tell you, if you're too dumb or too greenhorn to know, there was no trouble out here till the army came. Red men are all right. You know how to deal with them. You'd better stop him where he is.
That's far enough, Sergeant.
You all right, Captain?
You find anything, Sergeant?
No damage, Captain, but a lot of horses was here, back by the corral. They're fresh marks, sir.
Got a lot of neighbors, have you, Mr. Callender?
All I need.
We didn't come on any settlers on our way here, Captain.
You heard him say it, Mr. Harkness. Red men are all right. You know how to deal with them. Guess maybe Mr. Callender knows how.
You're getting off my property now?
Thanks for the help, settler. You better eat something, Mr. Harkness.
Oh, Captain, I can't. There's too much that just doesn't set well in my stomach.
Yeah, coffee then. It goes down when nothing else will.
Thank you. Where are we camped? Still in Fish Canyon?
North end of it. We did a good job of covering the canyon today.
And tomorrow?
Well, we'll head back to Fort Laramie and report to Major Daggett.
5 families slaughtered. And that's your report, isn't it?
That's about it.
How do I do it, Captain? How do I show what I saw today to the people back east?
I don't know your job, Mr. Harkness.
If I can write it just as I found it, maybe it'd jar them out of their complacency. Persecuted red men, peaceful hunters. Oh, they're nothing but savages. They're butchers.
These Indians, yes.
What do you mean?
And I'll tell you, I saw a slaughter once, the remains of one. 80 men, women, and children huddled beneath a flag that was supposed to give them immunity.
But they were killed anyway.
Ridden down, slaughtered, hacked, shot.
Indians don't put much value on human life, do they?
This was white men's work, Mr. Harkness.
White men's?
White army men.
You saw this happen?
Yeah, some of us were sent out after it happened to move the dead to burial grounds. Yeah, a savage is a savage, Mr. Harkness. Color of his skin's no matter.
I'll try to remember that, Captain.
Once you see it, you don't forget.
Now, what about a man like Callender? Indians have been at his place, too.
Yeah, we think so.
But he wasn't killed. His cabin still stands.
Could be he trades with them. Horses, grain.
Henry rifles.
Might be.
Well, if you thought he did...
I'd have to know he did, Mr. Harkness.
Yeah, you would, wouldn't you?
The day of riding ahead. You better get some sleep.
Captain Quinch, Indians up on the bluff.
Mount, make for the rocks. Sergeant, pass the word.
Yes, sir. Mount, make for the rocks. Come on.
Mr. Syberts!
Here, Captain.
Harkness in your tent?
No, sir. You better mount, sir.
Harkness! Mount and make for the rocks! You see him, Mr. Syberts?
No, sir, but he's armed, Captain.
Yeah, he'd better be. Now, let's go. Dig in and fire! Give him a steady load of it!
They're firing the camp, sir.
They can have the camp.
Any sign of Harkness, Captain?
I'm looking at Indians right now, Mr. Syberts. Hold your fire, men. They're out of range.
Hold your fire!
Well, let's see how we stood up, Mr. Syberts.
Right, Captain.
You all right, Harrison?
Captain, I'd like to wake up this way every morning.
That's the prettiest sight in the world. Indians riding away from you. Ain't that right, Captain?
Yeah, just right, Monk. I'll look on ahead, Mr. Syberts. You check the other way.
Yes, sir.
Captain, over here.
What's the matter? You ain't never seen a little blood before, mister?
Captain, this man is hurt.
They get you, Gores?
A nick, that's all. A little nick in the shoulder. Like we had 1,000 times, Captain.
Yeah, let's have a look.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
He's lost a lot of blood.
He's going to make somebody a wonderful mother, Captain.
I think you'll live, Gores.
I don't know. This sure ought to get me a couple of days in the hospital, don't you think? A couple of days of sleeping, spoon feeding, maybe.
You gonna live till you get to the hospital?
I can see I better save my real suffering for the medical officer.
Well, Captain? What do you think of it, Captain?
What's it supposed to be?
Well, the account of the raid on our camp at Fish Canyon.
Yeah. Reads like the Battle of Bull Run with Indians.
Well, I colored it a little.
You counted 100 Indians, Mr. Harkness. I saw maybe 20.
Well, I did that on purpose, Captain. You
and
see...
Sergeant Gorse got a flesh wound in the shoulder. He didn't die a hero's death like the sergeant in your story here.
Don't you see, Captain, the people back east, the people in New York and Washington, they've got to be blasted out of their beliefs.
With lies about a pitched battle that never happened?
Well, you think they'll pay attention to the story as it really happened? You think that'll get you the guns and the equipment you need?
I don't know, Mr. Harkness. I don't know your business. When you came here, you said you wanted a fair picture of the West.
I still do.
You're getting it. We got settlers who get massacred. Well, like the 5 families you saw in Fish Canyon. We get settlers like Mr. Callender who don't. We got red men who slaughter innocent whites, and we got red men who sit down at treaty tables and try to make peace.
Well, all that doesn't make exciting reading, Captain.
It makes life and death out here.
You're quite a realist, aren't you?
I live here, Mr. Harkness.
The Army is always right?
Army's not always anything. Not always right. Not always wrong. You tore up the story, I didn't.
Well, I'm right back where I started, Captain.
Are you?
I've still got a lot to learn.
And it's still a good sign, if you want it.
Fort Laramie is produced and directed by Norman MacDonald and stars Raymond Burr as Lee Quince, Captain of Cavalry, with Vic Perrin as Sergeant Gorse. The script was specially written for Fort Laramie by Kathleen Height, with sound patterns by Bill James and Ray Kemper, musical supervision by Amerigo Marino. Featured in the cast were Lawrence Dobkin, Harry Bartell, Jack Moyles, Sam Edwards, Parley Bear, and Lou Krugman.
Company, tension! Dismiss.
Next week, another transcribed story of the Northwest frontier and the troopers who fought under Lee Quince, Captain of Cavalry. Many people who should know better sometimes use their automobiles to take out whatever is bothering them on other people. Keep this in mind. Driving too fast or trying to beat traffic lights doesn't prove you're better than the other guy. You can prove your superiority by setting a new safety record. Not only that, but you'll be around to enjoy it.
And now, a Western drama series created by director Norman Macdonnell and writer John Meston. The stories take place in and around Dodge City, Kansas, during the settlement of the American West. The radio version ran from 1942 to 1961 and is commonly regarded as one of the finest radio dramas of all time. Ladies and gentlemen, we present to you Gunsmoke, next on HOJO Radio.
Around Dodge City and in the territory on West, there's just one way to handle the killers and the spoilers. And that's with a U.S. Marshal and the smell of gun smoke. Gunsmoke, starring William Conrad. The story of the violence that moved west with young America. The story of a man who moved with it. Matt Dillon, United States Marshal.
Report's finished, Mr. Dillon.
Good. You better go on home now, Chester. It's getting late.
Yes, sir. Oh, what about these new Dodgers?
I'll just leave them there. I'll look them over.
What's the matter, Mr. Dillon?
We got company at the back door. All right, come in. Let's sit in, I said.
Get your paws off of me.
What? A girl?
Sure, I'm a girl. What do you think I am?
Put that long rifle away and I'll tell you. Where'd you get that thing, anyway?
Pappy brought it with him from Kentucky, if it's any of your business, which it ain't by a darn sight.
Uh-huh. What you doing hanging around in the alley?
Get rid of him there, and we'll jaw about it.
Huh? I see. Chester? Good night.
Oh, but I'm not going to... Yes, sir. Good night, Mr. Dillon. My gracious.
You Marshal here?
That's right, miss.
My name's Hannah. Hannah Tolman. You arrest folks, don't you?
Well, if they've committed a crime, yeah.
Uh-huh. Well, then I got somebody for you to arrest.
Oh, who?
Pappy.
Why?
'Cause I said to, that's why. Somebody's been trying to kill him. I figure about the safest place for him is in jail.
Oh, wait a minute. Slow down. Let's start at the beginning, huh?
A few days ago, Pappy was bushwhacked up in the hills near our place.
Oh? Was he hurt?
No. Slug just bounced off in his head a little. Yesterday, the bushwhacker tried again. He missed.
Sounds like a bad shot.
Sure. But if he keeps trying, he may get lucky. So you put Pappy in jail until I can run down this ambushing gent, okay?
You plan to cross guns with him yourself?
I may be a girl, but I was barking squirrels while you was still trying to dent a tin can.
Well, you better let me take care of it, miss. And as for your father, I can't jail him without a charge.
Sure, I know that. What kind of a charge do you want?
Well, what kind do you have?
Well, most any, I reckon. Ain't it enough that he's drunk all the time?
Well, I can hold him overnight on that.
What if he shoots up the town?
That's 5 days for disturbing the peace.
That'll do.
Where did he do this shooting?
We ain't. Yet. He's down at the Alfreganza slopping up booze with that other old buzzard Jingle Bob.
Oh, the swamper?
Yeah, that's the one. You'd best be somewheres around the saloon in a few minutes. I got a feeling Pappy's about due to bust the law again.
Her story didn't make much sense, but there was something about the mountain girl's gleaming black eyes and the set of her pretty but stubborn face that made me go to the Alfreganza. At the bar, I ordered a glass of rye and watched two bewhiskered old-timers trying to outlie each other over a rapidly emptying bottle.
Yes, Jingle Bob. You just wait and see. Jed Tolman's going to have the biggest darn horse ranch in Kansas come spring.
Sure you are, absolutely. And me, why, I reckon I'll just buy up this here saloon.
Oh, you're lying.
Well, sure I am. Ain't you?
What's my money was spending, ain't it? How many times I got to tell you I'm getting rich?
Pappy, are you drunk?
If I ain't, I've been wasting a sight of time. Now leave me alone, daughter. Go home where you belong.
I'm going. Only come over to tell you, man bet me $10 you couldn't shoot out that lamp on the first shot.
What's that? Oh, give me that rifle.
All right, hold on. That's enough of that.
Stay back, son.
What?
Now, go collect your $10, daughter.
Yeah, Pappy. But I think the marshal here's a fixing to arrest you.
Huh?
Ain't you, Marshal?
Yeah, I guess I am. All right, come along, Jed. Come on.
What? Get your hands
Come
off me. What? I never... You jailing a man for having a little fun. Why, you'd never get away with this back in Kentucky.
Jed, you're in trouble, aren't you? Who's trying to kid you?
I reckon that's my business.
Now, that's the law's business.
I'll take care of myself, Marshal.
Uh-huh. Back in the saloon there, you mentioned having money and getting more.
So?
From what I've heard, you and your daughter run a 2-bit horse ranch up in the hills. That hardly figures to make you rich.
So?
You thick-headed old... Look, all I'm doing is trying to save your skin if it's in danger. Now, why don't you help me instead of being...
Reckon I don't wanna.
Well, that's plain enough. Morning, Chester.
Morning, Mr. Dillon. You better take a look at this new Dodger.
Huh? Wanted for robbery and murder... Vic Tolman. So that murderous gun hawk is loose again, huh?
Broke out of prison last week.
Yeah.
If he's kin to Jed Tolman, he'll like to be heading this way.
Yeah, likely. I'll give you a hunch, Chester. I think he's here already.
You do? You know where he is?
No, not exactly. But I expect Hannah Tolman may have an idea. That's where I'm heading.
Now, that's what I like to see. A man-sized appetite.
This wonderful corn pone.
I'm a good cook. I've been cooking for Pappy ever since Ma died 10 years ago.
Huh? You take pretty good care of him.
Somebody has to. Pappy's kind of shiftless. I reckon he'd starve if I didn't feed him. Only things he cares about are wild horses and booze. In a pinch, he'd give up horses.
You know, you're quite a woman, Hannah. You're pretty, brave, and with more courage than most men I know.
Too quick, Marshal.
What?
You're sweetening me up for some reason. Not that I mind, you understand. I'm partial to a strapping fella like you. And Pappy's always after me to get hitched up. Says it ain't fitting for me to be 22 without a man.
Oh, you're still young.
Not the mountain folk. I'm an old maid. And I'm agreeable for some sweet talk. Only I don't trust yours. What are you after, Marshal?
All right, Hannah. I only want the truth.
About what?
Where's your father getting this money he's spending?
I wish I knew.
Who shot at him?
I don't know, but I'm aiming to find out.
Where's Vic? Where's he hiding, Hannah?
Who?
Vic Tolman, your brother. Or maybe he's your cousin.
Brother.
Where?
I don't know.
Hannah, be sensible. Vic's a murderer.
Vic's my kin. We Tolmans don't turn on each other.
If you shelter him, you're guilty of...
Marshal, I reckon you just wore out your welcome.
That prisoner will stand up and face me. Jed Tolman, you've been found guilty of disturbing the peace. Sentence of this court is 5 days in jail or $100.
100? Well, Judge, ain't that a mite steep just for...
$100 or 5 days.
I ain't got that much on me. But I can get it if you let me go.
Just a minute.
Order in the court. Now, what's the meaning of this interruption?
I want to pay this man's fine, Your Honor.
That's your privilege, sir. $100. Pay the clerk.
Yes, sir.
Dick Curry. Somebody's been turning over rocks.
Well, I don't know him, but he's sure a friend. Looks like I ain't going with you, Marshal.
Yeah, looks like. But in your boots, I wouldn't be happy. Curry's one of the worst killers yet unhung.
Oh, Matt, is that a way to talk about me? I'm clear with the law. Come on, Mr. Tolman.
Go ahead, Jed. And say hello to Vic for me.
Vic? Oh, no. Mr. Curry. Is that true?
What's the difference who put up the 100? Come on.
No, not if it's Vic. No, you can't make me.
I said come on.
Marshal, don't let him take me.
Oh, shut up and come on before
Curry.
Stay out of this, Marshal.
I don't think so. You paid his fine. You didn't buy him.
He's going with me, Matt. Don't try to stop me.
I can't imagine anything that'd give me more pleasure.
You don't like living, do you?
Very much. Now, just any time you feel like it.
No. Not here, Matt. I'll pick my spot.
Yeah. I'll try not to turn my back on any dark alleys.
Do that. And, Tolman, I'll be seeing you again.
We'll return for the second act of Gunsmoke in just a moment. But first, strength against aggression calls for guns, tanks, planes, and explosives in tremendous quantity. It calls for other things, too. Moral strength, based on equality of opportunity for all, and economic strength, which today can be based only on continued high output of civilian goods. America must produce, as she never has before, war material, civilian goods, and democracy. Only an all-out effort in all three directions will give us security against aggression. Now the second act of Gunsmoke.
Start, Marshal? Why don't we play while we wait?
No thanks, Tinkle Bob. You needn't wait with us.
Jed's my friend, Mr. Dillon.
Sure.
Maybe I can't help him none, but at least I can share whatever the trouble is. Understand?
Mm-hmm.
Now, Jed here is a lying old ringtail drunk, but me, well, when a man is down to scrubbing saloon floors just to get the liquor that'll keep his nerves from shaking apart, he's grateful for any friendship that's offered.
Don't move. Curry, get his gun.
Sure thing.
You recognize me, Mark?
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah. Vic Tolman. There are Dodgers out on you.
You're a cool one, Dillon. Too bad we're on opposite sides of the fence.
Yeah, it's too bad. Real pity. I'm going to enjoy this job. What job? Well, don't you know? Vic's taking his paw away from you. But you won't mind. You'll be dead.
Curry, you stick here and take care of these two. Jed and I'll go on ahead.
Oh, son, I don't want to go nowhere.
Now, Paul, don't rile me. You're going with me.
None of you are going anyplace, Vic.
Check.
What?
Window. Reach high, both of you, and let go of that hardware.
Now, you better do as he says. Because Chester's a little nervous with that shotgun. There's mine.
Looks like the odds are with you, so...
You might as well get rid of that spare in your boot, Vic, before you run into any temptations.
You got sharp eyes, Marshal. The law gets a lot of backing up tonight.
Your mistake, Vic. Sometimes people just don't give Chester enough credit.
Chow time. Beef steak, fried potatoes, stewed corn. Marshal, I must say you run a nice jail, don't he, Curry? Don't mind Curry. He's a little depressed about last night. You still run a nice jail. Something on your mind, Marshal?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a couple of things.
Such as?
Oh, such as your father spending money he hasn't earned, claiming to know where he can get more.
Paul's sure a terrible liar.
Mm-hmm. Such as him getting shot at twice and refusing to talk about it. Or help me investigate.
Paul's a little bashful, too.
Yeah. Such as his being afraid of you.
I guess Paul's getting old, little dottery.
Yeah. Then, of course, there's you.
Well, now you're on my favorite subject. Go on.
Well, you're a killer and a thief, but you're cool and smart. Smart enough to educate yourself.
I had lots of time to read in the pen. Lots of time.
You're going to have more, but not much more, because you're going to hang for those guards that you killed.
Maybe. Curry, ain't you going to eat that?
Mm-mm.
Now, go on about me being smart.
You're smart enough to know the most dangerous place for you to go after you escaped was here.
Well, it looks like I ain't as smart as you think.
It depends on what reason you had for risking coming here.
Boy, that's sure good coffee. First jail I was ever in where the coffee was fit to drink.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, Marshal. Just what was my reason?
The reason was money.
Money?
Cash. It's the only thing that'd give you a chance to get out of the country. You're in for robbery as well as murder. How much of the loot was recovered?
You know how it is, Marshal. Easy come, easy go. I spent it as fast, well, nearly as fast as I got it.
So nothing was recovered, huh?
No, it was all gone.
It was all hidden, you mean? Hidden until Jed found it.
Paul?
Sure. That's his source of money. It's also why he was afraid to go with you.
Like I said, too bad we're on opposite sides. You got brains and you use them.
You want to fill in the details for me?
I'll tell you this. You're right about my cash and money. I'd had it and be on my way to Mexico by now if Paul hadn't switched hiding places on me. You know, it hurts. Paul's turning against me.
Yeah. The Tolmans always stick together, except when money's involved.
How about you, Marshal? Money by you, sky's the limit.
I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. Well, I figured now. Well, been a nice chat. Want to take you straight. Hurry, give me a hand.
All right, back up, Curry. That's it. And tell Vic when he wakes up to take it easy, or he won't live to be hung. Hey, Jingle Bob. You seen Jed?
Sorry, Marshal. I don't know where Jed is. Been looking for him myself. Golly, I'm cold.
He must have left town last night.
Yeah. Ain't you cold?
I got an old jacket you can have.
I'd rather have a shot. Better still 2 shots.
You got the jumps?
Always got 'em. Except when I'm full of booze. Funny, you won't believe it, but there was a time when I couldn't stand the taste of hard liquor. Made me sick. No, can't live without it.
Yes, you can.
Well, maybe, let's say I don't want to.
Let's say that... Here. Go buy yourself a drink.
Hey, that's enough for a whole bottle. Well, thanks. See you later, Marshal.
Supper time, Chester. Chester. Chester, you all right? The prisoners?
Gone. Hannah Tolman slipped them a gun. They made me open up the cell, and Vic slugged me.
Well, I know where they'll go.
Please, Mr. Dillon, take me along. It was my fault they escaped.
All right, Chester. Ask Doc to put a quick patch on that head, and we'll go after him together.
Starting to get dark.
Yeah.
Why'd we leave the road back there?
I wanted to reach that rise, Chester.
But we circled around to come up the back side. Does that have something to do with you bringing binoculars?
Yeah, it does. Vic Tolman will know he'll be followed. I want to see what kind of a surprise he has for us. All right, pull up. You wait here.
See anything?
No. Not yet. Now, wait. I knew now. Yeah, it's Curry, all right. He's holed up in some brush just beyond the turn in the road down there.
Well, what do we do, Mr. Dillon?
Take the horses and circle back the way we came. Start up the road, but don't make the turn.
I understand.
Now, be sure. As long as you don't make the turn, you'll be safe. But, I do want you to make some noise.
Noise?
Yeah, I want you to sing, whistle, throw rocks, anything. Just so long as it holds Curry's attention. It was slow work, crawling down through the brush, but finally I was only 10 feet behind Curry's position. The gunman was holding a rifle trained on the turn. And out of sight, coming up the road, I could hear Chester. Well, he wasn't good, but he was loud.
Come on around that turn, blast you.
All right, don't turn around, Curry. What? Now, you may have a point, but I like Chester, bad singing and all. Now, lay the rifle aside. And unbuckle your gun belt. Now, careful.
Sure. Only don't shoot.
Okay. Chester! Chester!
I didn't mean no harm. I was only going to scare him.
Yeah. Now, where's Vic?
At the Tolman house. Waiting for Jed to show up.
Uh-huh. All right, put your hands behind your back. I'm going to tie you up and leave you here.
Leave me here?
Yeah, we'll pick you up on the way back to town. It was dark when Chester and I were moving through the trees up to the Tolman shack. There was a light in the front, and through a window we could see the figure of Hannah Tolman moving around.
Just a girl.
Yeah, Vic's there. He just stand out of sight so Jed won't be scared off. Uh-oh.
She's coming out. Heading this way.
Yeah, there must be a well out here. She's carrying a bucket. Yeah, behind that tree quick, and I'll take this one.
What do you think you're...
All right, now quiet down. We're not going to hurt you. Stop fighting. Chester, grab her legs quick.
Yes, sir.
I was saving these handcuffs for Vic, but I guess they'll do for you. There. Now, do you promise to be quiet, or do we gag you? All right, have it your way. Chester, give me your bandana.
Yes, sir.
Here.
There, that should do it. All right, stay with her, Chester. I'm going for Vic. I was halfway to the shack when inside Vic Tolman became suspicious. Suddenly the lights went up, and the door opened, and a shadowy figure slipped out to stand, listening.
Hannah? Hannah, answer me.
Drop him, Vic.
Who is that? I can't see.
Matt Dillon. Throw down those guns. You're under arrest.
Not this time.
Vic.
You were right, Marshal. I ain't gonna live to hang.
Vic.
Mr. Dillon, over here.
Hey, what is it, Chester? Who's that, Jed?
Yes, sir. I caught him sneaking towards the house. He was carrying this bag.
Here, let me see. That's the money.
I was taking it to Vic. Is he...
Yeah. You're too late, Jed.
Oh, no. I'd have given him his money. If only he hadn't taken them shots at me.
He didn't. Until he found out where the money was hidden, he was the last person in the world to want you dead.
But, I don't understand. He must be...
No. Only the person who knew where you had the money would have shot at you.
Nobody knew that. How could they?
You talk a lot when you get drunk, Jed. And you only get drunk with one person.
Huh? You mean Jingle Bob?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember. I was bragging. Told him all about finding it and switching hiding places. Why, that low-down snake. And him pretending to be my friend.
Come on, Jed. I'll help you bury Vic. And we'll get back to Dodge.
We Tolman sure have had a bad week.
Gunsmoke, under the direction of Norman Macdonald, stars William Conrad as Matt Dillon, U.S. Marshal. Tonight's story was specially written for Gunsmoke by Herb Purdom, with music composed and conducted by Rex Corey. Featured in tonight's cast were Virginia Gregg, Joseph Kearns, and Junius Matthews, with Harry Bartell, Lou Krugman, and Peter Leeds. Parley Bear is Chester. Join us again next week as Matt Dillon, U.S. Marshal, fights to bring law and order out of the wild violence of the West in Gunsmoke. Remember, America must produce as she never has before. She must produce war materials, civilian goods, and above all, democracy. Only an all-out effort in all three directions will give us security against aggression. George Walsh speaking, and remember, Gangbusters goes into action Saturday nights on the CBS Radio Network.
Thanks for listening to HOJO Radio. We have more classic radio coming your way next.
Around Dodge City and in the territory on West, there's just one way to handle the killers and the spoilers, and that's with a U.S. Marshal and the smell of gun smoke. Gunsmoke, starring William Conrad. The story of the violence that moved west with young America. The story of a man who moved with it. Matt Dillon, United States Marshal. That horse over here. All right. Let me get this noose around your dirty neck, and you'll be swinging in no time. There. Not too tight, is it? I wouldn't want you to be uncomfortable.
That's enough of that, Cam.
What? Who said that?
I did.
I said it. Bryce Stewart. What's the matter, you turning yellow?
And get this over with, Cam. Why devil him? If that's what he is, that's why.
Shut up. I'll take care of you in a minute. Bryce, you got anything against my hanging this murderer?
Just don't devil him, that's all. Get it over with.
I'll do it my way.
It's my brother he shot, isn't it? And in the back, too.
Bryce, maybe you'd like me to turn this bushwhacker loose. Is that it?
Oh, well, ask him his name. Nobody's even asked him his name.
You'll hate this night. All of you. I was in on a lynching once, and I swore I'd never be in on another.
Well, I guess the joke's on you, isn't it, fella?
Look, I hear you laugh again, Cam, so help me, I'll shoot you.
Maybe you shouldn't be here, Rice.
How can you hang a man you don't even know his name? What do I care what his name is?
So long as he pays for murdering Joe.
What's your name, fella? What do you care? You don't want to stop him. You just want it off your conscience, that's all.
Tell me your name.
It's Billy Saxton, that's my name, Billy Saxton. How's it sound?
Billy, why'd you kill Joe Powell?
That's enough talk. What difference it make? He killed him, and that's all I need to know.
Yeah, what do you care? He's going to hang me anyway.
Sure I am.
And right now. Billy, I got a rifle. I'll end it for you when we ride off. You won't have to strangle for long.
Thanks, mister. Thanks.
Get back, Rice. I'm going to slap that horse out from under him. You ready?
That's for you.
Let's go, men.
But has concealed the hour of their death, grant that we may pass our days in the practice of holiness and justice, and that we may be able to quit this world in the peace of a good conscience. Amen.
Amen.
May Job Powell rest in peace. Amen.
Amen. Go ahead, boys. Thank you.
Good morning, Cam. I'm sorry to hear about Job.
You're late for the burial, Marshal.
Well, I was out at Fort Dodge last night. Just heard about it this morning. Preacher?
We are in the valley of the shadow of death, Marshal Dillon.
Well, if you're all through here now, I wonder if you'd read a few prayers over another man. We got him in a grave just over the hill there.
Another man?
Man is born into trouble as the sparks fly upward. Job 5:7. Who was this man, Marshal? How did he die?
He was murdered last night.
I didn't hear about any murder outside of Job here. Where was this shooting, Marshal?
It wasn't a shooting. It was a lynching.
I just buried my brother, Marshal. Billy Saxton shot him in the back. Aren't you using the word murder a little loose around here?
Only the law can hang a man without it being murder, Cam.
The law's too slow sometimes.
You know something about this?
All I say is that he shot my brother and he deserved hanging.
Hanging, maybe. Lynching's a different matter.
What difference it make? He got what was coming to him.
He had a fair trial coming to him, like any man. For example, Cam, I'll try to see that you get one.
What?
If you're guilty of leading that lynch party.
Well, say it out, Marshal. You accusing me?
I got no evidence.
And you won't get me. There isn't a man in the country who'll stand still for bushwhacking. Saxton got his due, and that's that.
Maybe. All right, come on, preacher. Let's bury him.
Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. Genesis 9:6. Show me the grave, Marshal.
Why don't you just arrest Cam Powell, Mr. Dillon?
Yeah, he won't admit anything, Chester. I can't find a witness.
There must be somebody who'll talk.
Cam's a bigger man than ever now with Job dead. The others don't want to cross him.
Mm-hmm. He owns a lot of land, all right.
And Job also owned a piece of the bank. Cam will get that now. Ranchers always need money, so they won't talk.
Yes, and maybe they're ashamed, too, Mr. Dillon.
Yeah, maybe.
I saw lynching once, and not a man there could look in the eye for a long time afterwards.
You weren't in on it, were you, Chester?
Oh, my gracious, no, Mr. Dillon. I was just a small boy. That was back in Waco. They hung a cousin of mine there.
Oh, why?
Well, sir, it's kind of hard to explain. He was about as honest a fellow as I ever knew, outside of some loose notions about other people's cattle. But, Mr. Dillon, I just don't believe that struck him as stealing.
Why not?
Well, because there wasn't anything personal about it, if you know what I mean.
Well, I don't, but maybe you can explain it to me.
Well, sir, just that there was all those cattle running loose on the plains, and I guess they seemed like a natural part of the landscape to him. He figured anybody could own them.
Your cousin wasn't very bright, was he, Chester?
I didn't know him well enough to say, Mr. Dillon. But anyway, they shouldn't have lynched him.
No. No, they shouldn't have. And nobody's going to get by with lynching around Dodge if I have anything to do with it.
No, sir.
I heard Billy Saxton was at the Texas Trail last night. Maybe I can start there.
He sure must have hated Job to kill him like that, Mr. Dillon.
Yeah. I'll be back later, Chester.
Yes, sir, Mr. Dillon.
Hello, Kitty.
Hello.
Well, I can remember when you'd give me a smile. What's the matter?
Nothing, Matt.
Someone been bothering you?
You might put it that way. Where were you last night, Matt? Why weren't you around?
Yeah, Chester and I rode out to Fort Dodge on business. It was late, so we slept there. I thought this town could go one night without trouble.
You sure thought wrong, didn't you?
You're upset about the lynching, that is.
That's it. Aren't you?
I heard Billy Saxton spent some time in here yesterday.
I hate men. I think they're awful. Savage beasts.
It'd be worse if it weren't for the law, Kitty. Now tell me about Saxton.
He could tell you himself, Matt, if you hadn't picked last night to wander out of town.
Now, Kitty, this isn't like you.
I'm sorry, Matt. He seemed like such a nice kid.
Where was he from? I never heard of him around here before.
There's a Cody somewhere. He was just a cow puncher looking for a job. No more a gunman than I am.
No, you can't be sure, Kitty. He say he'd ever been in Texas?
The Powells came from Texas, didn't they?
Amarillo.
But they never mentioned Texas one way or the other.
What'd he talk about?
Horses, mostly. How he'd like to have a little spread of his own someday. And a woman.
I see.
And he talked nice about it. He wasn't like these hard cases around here.
Anything else?
Cam Powell was in this morning. Told me not to talk about Billy, especially to you.
No? What'd you say?
I told him I'm not afraid of him, but maybe you are, so why didn't he warn you against talking to me?
That pleasing?
I also told him if I was a man, I'd kill him.
Who else was in on it, Kitty?
I don't know. One thing, though. Rice Stewart came in here last night. Must have been afterwards. He sat over there in that corner and got drunk all by himself. Real drunk.
Not like Ray.
No. But maybe he was in on it and couldn't stand himself afterwards. Maybe that's why he had to get drunk.
I'll go see him.
Anyone who was there would be in trouble, too. Wouldn't they, Matt?
Yeah. I have a feeling Cam really headed this thing, and if I can prove it, I'll have him up for murder.
I'll keep my ears open, Matt.
Thank you, Kitty. I think I'll ride out to the Stewart Ranch. Rice isn't a man who can lie with much conviction.
Good luck, Matt.
Yeah, I'll see you later.
We'll return for the second act of Gunsmoke in just a moment. But first, do you know how old the school building in your community is? If it's over 25 years old, the chances are that it's woefully inadequate to the present demands on it. Join with the groups in your community working for better school conditions. Remember, better schools build a stronger America. Now the second act of Gunsmoke.
Hello? Anybody around?
Marshal, coming out of the sun.
Well, thank you, Miss Stewart.
Got a pot of coffee in the stove, Marshal.
Oh, thank you, ma'am, but I'd like to find Rice first.
Anything wrong, Marshal?
No, I'd just like to talk to him.
Rice come home real late last night. He was awful drunk. First time in years.
If you'll forgive me, Miss Stewart, I'd better find him.
All right. Guess I'd rather Rice told me about it himself. Must be something up. Cam Powell was by earlier. Hasn't been around in months.
What'd you say Rice was, ma'am?
Hasn't strayed far from the house today. Keeps coming in for coffee. Think he's drunk a gallon already.
Well, I'll be back for some myself in a little while.
Sure, Marshal.
Rice? Rice, you in here?
I'm here. Who is it?
Matt Dillon.
Oh.
Hello, Marshal. Hello, Rice. Can I take a little of your time?
I'd ask you up to the house, Marshal, but I think I'd rather talk here.
Miss Stewart already asked me in. She hasn't heard about what happened in Dodge last night, has she, Rice?
No, Marshal, she hasn't.
How come you didn't mention it to her?
What I tell my wife is my business, Marshal.
Yeah, sure. But you know, she's bound to hear about it later. Maybe she'll wonder why you didn't tell her right off.
That's still my business?
She said Cam Powell was here this morning.
Anything wrong in that?
You don't feel very good today, do you, Rice?
I got drunk yesterday. Last night I got drunker.
Is that what's bothering you?
Well, I'm not as young as I used to be, that's all.
You're a poor liar, Rice. I figured you would be.
Yeah, I suppose I am.
Look, Rice, I've known you for 4 years, and I've never heard a bad word against you. But yesterday you were a little drunk and got mixed up in something you're ashamed of now. Cam Powell threatened you if you talk about it. Isn't that right?
That's right, Marshal.
Well, have you decided what you're going to do about it?
I don't know, Marshal. I just don't know.
Well, then maybe I'm wrong about you. Maybe you know better than Cam and the rest of them.
Look, it's done with now, Marshal. Why can't we just forget it?
We just can't forget a lynching, right? That'd make it too easy for the next one to happen.
I'll kill the man that starts another one.
Then why are you going to let Cam get by with this one?
By heaven, I'm not. I should have stopped it then. I don't know what was wrong with me, but I'll face up to it now. What do you want to know, Marshal?
Where were you when Job got shot?
At the Longhorn. About 6 of us were having supper. Job went down the street for some cigars, and then we heard a shot out back, and we run through the kitchen and found the cook outside holding Billy Saxton.
Mm-hmm.
He'd shot Job when he passed the street end of the alley.
The cook see it?
Oh, she said he did.
Then what happened?
And Cam went crazy when he found Job was dead. I don't know, Marshal, but before I knew it, we'd slipped out of town with that boy. Cam hung him on that little tree about a half mile down the road.
Yeah, I know. I cut him down.
And that cook, that Hank something or other, I remember he grabbed Saxon's gun when we run out back. I can't get it off my mind. Nobody ever even looked at the boy's gun to see if it had been fired. Cam just hung him. And the cook's word for it.
Mm-hmm. All right, Rice. Thank you. Will you be a witness if I need you?
I'll see you through now, Marshal. All the way. Oh. I feel better already.
All right. Let's go get some of your wife's coffee, Rice. Yeah. Then I got to get back to Dodge.
Good coffee, Marshal.
Chester? Chester? Chester, where are you?
I'm out back, Mr. Dillon. I'll be right in.
What's that you've got all over you?
Paint, Mr. Dillon. White paint.
Paint? Well, where'd you get it? Now, what are you up to now, Chester?
I sent St. Louis for it, sir. I thought it'd be a good idea to make the hitching rail out back all white.
Well, what for?
Well, sir, we might be in an awful big hurry some night, and that...
all right, Chester. All right. Look, I want you to go get cleaned up. I want you to have supper at the Longhorn tonight.
Well, I sure do thank you, Mr. Dillon.
No, Chester. I want you to go there alone.
Oh. Yes, sir?
It's for a reason. Do you know the cook over there, Hank something or other?
That's Hank Ashford. He's not a very good cook, Mr. Dillon.
How long's he been around?
Oh, about a week. I don't think he likes cooking much. He don't seem to be very willing either.
Well, it doesn't matter. I doubt if he'll be around for long.
Why not, sir?
I'm guessing that he'll be wanting to get out of Dodge fast after you let it drop. Real casual-like, mind, that I've ridden out to arrest Cam Powell.
Is that so? You going to bring Cam in tonight, Mr. Dillon?
No. You're just going to make Hank Ashford think I am. And don't let anyone else hear about it, though.
Oh. I've got it, sir.
You happen to know where Hank rooms?
The Dodge house, Mr. Dillon.
It's pretty fancy for a cook, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
All right, you go to supper about 6 o'clock. And I'm gambling that Hank Ashford will be packing his things at the Dodge house by 7.
All right, Mr. Dillon.
Evening, Marshal.
Evening, John.
Hope you're not looking for a room. We're all filled up. Texans, mostly.
Oh, that's fine. What room's Hank Ashford got?
There's 310, Marshal. Top of the stairs, straight down the hall.
Uh-huh.
Hey, you been up to anything? Looked to be in a mite of a hurry when he come in.
He's here now?
Went upstairs just a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah.
Stop him up, Marshal?
Leave that gun lay where it is, mister. Here, I'll just put it in my belt. Less likely to get you in trouble that way.
You're the marshal, ain't you?
You leaving town, Hank?
Yeah, I am.
Why?
I'm tired of cooking, that's why.
You got Billy Saxton's gun up here, Hank?
What?
Or shall I tear your stuff apart and find it myself?
No, it's in that drawer there.
Yeah.
But I wasn't at that lynching, Marshal. I can prove I wasn't.
Yeah, I'm sure you weren't. All the shells are here. And the barrel's clean. I thought this gun killed Joe Powell.
It did. I cleaned it, that's all.
You're pretty neat, Hank, for a hash house cook. Yeah, catch this.
Now what?
And you handle that gun pretty well, too, for a cook. Look at the way you're holding it now.
I don't want that gun. What are you trying to prove, Marshal?
You're a gunfighter, not a cook, Hank.
All right, Marshal. I used to handle a gun, but I'm looking for the peaceful life now. Any law against a man changing?
No, but you're under arrest anyway.
What for?
I'll think of something. Let's go.
Hank wouldn't eat any breakfast, Mr. Dillon.
Yeah, that's too bad.
He says he won't be here long anyway. They all say that, don't they?
Yeah, he may be right. I see Cam Powell coming across the street for him right now.
You going to let him go, Mr. Dillon?
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, Marshal. What's the bail on Hank Ashford?
There's no bail at all, Cam.
What do you mean, no bail? You can't hold a man like this.
I'm not holding him.
You mean he can leave?
Anytime.
And what'd you arrest him for in the first place?
Oh, let's say, suspicion.
Suspicion of what?
Well, drunkenness?
He wasn't drunk.
No, but he might have got drunk.
You're pretty high-handed with that badge, aren't you, Dillon?
You tell me, Cam. You ought to know about being high-handed.
We're wasting time. Turn him loose. I want to get out of here.
I'll get him, Mr. Dillon.
Hank's a right handy man to have around, huh, Cam?
What does that mean?
Well, he can cook. Probably turn his hand to most anything. Sort of a jack of all trades, isn't he?
I wouldn't know, Marshal. Thanks for bailing me out, Cam.
I didn't have to bail you out. You're free.
Is that right, Marshal?
That's right, Hank. So go on, enjoy yourself.
I sure will. Then I'll start by having a drink. Come on, Cam. Let's see if the Alfraganza's open.
Mr. Dillon?
Yeah.
You think Hank shot Joe Powell, don't you?
Well, that'd be my guess, Chester.
Then why'd you let him go?
No evidence. They lynched the only witness. But I've made him a little nervous now. They'll get real jumpy with the help of some liquor.
Well, what good will that do, sir?
They just might hang themselves, Chester. With a prod or two from me.
Well, come on.
Are you still here, gentlemen? May I buy you a drink?
What are you doing here, Marshal?
Why do you want to buy us a drink? Bartender, give me that bottle there, will you?
Cam, I don't like this. Let's get out of here.
Wait a minute, Hank. I'm too big a man in Dodge to get pushed around by any marshal. I just want you to have one drink before you leave, gentlemen.
Just one.
For you, Cam. And for you.
Thanks.
There. Now, gentlemen, here's may he rest in peace, Billy Saxton.
You looking for trouble, Marshal?
You're the one who's got trouble, Hank.
What do you mean? You turned me loose yourself.
Yeah, I know. But what about Cam here?
What?
You think Cam's going to let you go after everything you've told me?
What'd you tell him, Hank?
Nothing. He's lying. I told him nothing.
So what are you talking about, Marshal?
Just that I've got about all the evidence I need, Cam. Won't you ask Hank? He can tell you. Go on.
Hank, if you cross me, I'll see you die for it.
You believe him, do you? Well, go ahead. You didn't have the guts to shoot your brother yourself.
Shut up.
Who are you going to hire to shoot
Shut
me?
up, blast you.
Shut me up. Shut me up.
Man, use your head. You got us in enough trouble already.
I have. If you'd let me shoot that boy when he stumbled on me, would have been all right.
Stop
You may be rich, Cam, but you sure ain't smart.
I'm going to kill you, Hank.
Well, draw on me and I'll have 2 pals tomorrow.
All right, hold it, both of you. We've heard enough.
Well, there you are, Hank. Marshall's heard all he needs. You're done for now.
Yeah? Well, I shot a marshal in Trinidad once. Don't see why I can't shoot one in Dodge.
Don't try it, Hank.
Why not, Marshal?
Good riddance.
You're under arrest, Cam.
Hank shot Job Marshall. You heard him say so.
I heard him. But I'm still interested in who murdered Billy Saxton.
And you're right back where you started, Marshal. Seems nobody knows about that lynching.
I know about it.
Right, stood.
I'm not proud of it, but I was there. I witnessed the whole thing.
I'll take your gun now, Cam.
I guess you win, Marshal.
Nobody wins this time, Cam. Now, maybe the next time anybody gets an idea about lynching a man around here, they'll think twice. Now, you lead the way.
Gunsmoke, under the direction of Norman Macdonald, stars William Conrad as Matt Dillon, U.S. Marshal. Tonight's story was especially written for Gunsmoke by John Meston, with music composed and conducted by Rex Corey. Featured in tonight's cast were Paul Dubois, John Daner, and Tom Tully, with Joan Danton, Ralph Moody, and Lee Millar. Parley Bear is Chester, and Georgia Ellis is Kitty. Join us again next week as Matt Dillon, U.S. Marshal, fights to bring law and order out of the wild violence of the West in Gunsmoke. This is the CBS Radio Network.
Thank you for listening to HOJO Radio. We'll be back again very soon.
Bye.